Hi everyone, welcome back to this series of one shot for your upcoming examinations for Cambridge IGCSE Biology 0610. In previous one shots, we had talked about enzymes, biological molecules. We had a last discussion on plant nutrition as well. So in today's chapter, we are going to take another most important chapter, that is the animal nutrition. And why are we calling it as another most important chapter? As we have observed in the May-June 2024 exam series, in the Feb-March 2024 exam series, there have been at least 5 questions coming directly from this chapter only. So you can assume that this chapter is going to be very important for your October-November 2024 examinations as well. All right. What we are going to study in this session, we will first cover the important topics as per examination point of view. Then we will be taking up the past year questions taken from past year papers after thorough examinations. So let us start our session here with human nutrition here. And what are the list of topics that are we going to study in today's session is, first we are going to study why do we need food actually, then diet versus balanced diet, so we are going to have a glimpse about that too. Components of a balanced diet, that will include carbohydrate, proteins, fat, vitamins, minerals. So all of these have been a part of discussion in previous chapters as well, so that came in the chapter discussion of biological molecules. All right, we had talked about that also. Digestive system, then types of digestion, physical and chemical digestion, then there is absorption. After that we are going to study about the assimilation and digestion process also, but these are not very much important as per examination view, because we have not met many questions in the previous year papers relating to these two topics also. So we are going to proceed with our session here. All right, here, so what is the introduction here? All the living organisms need food in order to survive, in order to you can say in order to process certain metabolic functions. All right, you can say all of the organisms are not able to make their own food, and we have already had a discussion in the last one shot that we took about the chapter that is plant nutrition. In plant nutrition, we talked that the plant are the organism that synthesize their food on their own. They utilize it and convert it into another forms wherever and whenever required. But we human beings do not make their food on our own. We rely on certain plants, we rely on certain animals which depends upon the plant for their food requirements, for their energy requirements. So all of the organisms require food, and animals must consume ready-made food by eating plants or other animals. So we derive our food, either we directly consume the plant, or we consume those animals which are depending upon the plants as well. All right, now why do we need food is, first reason, that is for growth. It provides the substances needed for making new cells and tissues. It provides us with nutrition. So nutrition is one of the essential processes, one of the essential characteristics of living organisms. In order to derive energy from the food particles, we have to process it further. But why do we actually need food? We need food for the growth part. We need food to maintain our whole body, to make new cells, to make new tissues, to repair the damaged parts, or to repair or eliminate the worn out tissues, the worn out cells as well. All right, as a source of energy. So first, what are we going to do? We are obtaining the food from the outside source, then we are extracting the energy stored in the chemical bonds of these carbohydrates or other food components as well. So the other factor for which we rely on food is that we have to derive energy from it. And why do we need energy? We need energy in order to perform various body functions that include metabolic reactions, which further include anabolic reactions, catabolic reactions. We require food in order to you can say make new cells, and while making the new cells we require energy. So all of this energy is coming from the food that we take inside our bodies. So we require food as a source of energy because it is required for chemical reactions in living organisms. And what is the process called for the extraction of energy stored in the chemical bonds of the carbohydrates? That process is termed as respiration, and we have studied this multiple times in previous one shots as well. So this is the process basically through which we are going to extract the energy stored in the chemical bonds of the carbohydrate. Then during respiration, what happens actually? Since we have already written here that respiration is the process, so let me write a statement about that also. So respiration is the process, a process through which energy stored in the chemical bonds of the carbohydrates, the carbohydrates is extracted. All right. So this is what we mean by the process respiration. During respiration, food breakdown releases energy because food here is having carbohydrate as a food component. So we require to break down this food particle, this carbohydrate, to release energy. We can either perform aerobic respiration, we can either perform anaerobic type of respiration. So basically, aerobic respiration is that respiration which require oxygen for the complete combustion of carbohydrate into carbon dioxide and water. And what do we mean by anaerobic respiration? It is a process in which the respiration is being performed but in the absence of oxygen, and that occurs in human muscle cells in which lactic acid is produced. I hope this is relatable to you all, and I hope that you have studied all the past one shots or previous one shots that we have completed from this particular syllabus. All right. So energy used for chemical reactions, that is building complex molecules as well. So in order to build molecules which are complex in nature, we require energy. So energy is utilized in building up complex molecules, and you can say to perform certain chemical reactions we require energy. All right. In animals, energy used for activities like movement, heartbeat, nerve impulse. So whenever we talk about animals, animals move from one place to another. Plants do not move at all. All right. They do show movement, but they show the movement in sense of molecular movement. So the molecules are being passed across a cell. And this, you can say, this assures that these plants are living organisms. But when we are talking about the animals change their place from one place to another in order to have a shelter, in order to find prey for their food. All right. So in order to find food, in order to find mate for the reproduction process, they move from one place to another, and movement requires energy. So energy is utilized in the process of movement also. Heartbeat is also performed. So heartbeat, by performing this heartbeat kind of activity, it requires a lot of energy because it has to build up a potential by which the blood is pumped at such a potential that it is being able to pass to all the cells present in our body. All right. Nerve impulses are also transported inside our bodies, and this utilizes energy also. For replacement of worn and damaged tissues, we require energy. All right. We require actually the food. Substances from food replace millions of red blood cells that break down daily basis. All right. So we require the food in order to replace those RBCs that have been broken down on a daily basis. To replace these RBCs, to generate new RBCs, we require food. All right. Replace worn away skin. So this damaged skin is being replaced by the food which we are eating. Now how can we relate this food to the damaged part of the skin? So how does this food is repairing our damaged skin, damaged cells, and how is it being able to perform so? So we are going to study about that also in this particular session. All right. Repair one. So in order to repair our damaged tissues, in order to repair the clots which have been formed, all right, so we require food because the food has certain elements, the food has certain biological molecules which can be utilized by the human bodies in order to perform any of the functions that is required, and is vital to carry out a living organism's metabolic activities. All right. And if the metabolic reactions are being processed, we will say that the living organisms are surviving. All right. The other most important topic here is going to be diet, and we have observed like 2 to 3 questions coming directly from this topic, diet. Let's see what the diet is. So diet is a mixture of food and drink consumed by an individual group. So by diet we mean that what is the kind of food we are having, what is the kind of liquid or drink we are consuming, that is becoming our diet, because these are the components which we are requiring on a daily basis. Can vary greatly based on cultural, based on personal, and environmental factors. So each organism is having their own choice of this diet, because it is greatly varying based upon the cultural practices which have been performed in a particular community, and so as their diet is reflected, because this will automatically reflect what the kind of food they are eating basically. All right. On The diet is actually also dependent upon one's personal choice. So one opting to be vegetarian, the other opting to be non-vegetarian, so the diet varies accordingly. And environmental factors, because due to the availability of food resources surrounding the particular living organism, or you can say talking about the human beings, so in which the human being is being surrounded by such an environment in which there are only you can say marine life. All right, so it will consume more marine food, right? So marine organisms will be utilized by those organisms which are surrounded by these kind of regions. And you can take another example, that if an organism, if a human being is surrounded by a forest, so he will be relying more on the vegetables and fruits, all right, and not on the you can say animal sources, because animals will be hard to find, and vegetables and fruits will be easily accessible to these living organisms. All right, so in this manner you can say that the diet can vary greatly based on cultural, personal and environmental factors also, may not necessarily meet all nutrition requirements. So the diet we are having, so the type of food, the type of drink which we are having on a daily basis, it is not essential for us to derive all of the nutrients, all of the necessary requirements of the nutrition by our body will be fulfilled by the amount by the type of diet that we take. All right, so let's assume that one person is having a diet that is you can say based on fast food only, that is, you can say burgers are there, pizzas are there, and fries and some kind of food that are rich in carbohydrates but lack any other you can say necessary nutritional values. That is, most of the vitamins will not be there, most of the minerals will not be there. So if a person relies completely on these type of food resources, he will become deficit in vitamins and minerals also. All right, so the diet may not necessarily meet all nutritional requirements, but we have to take care of the diet, our diet also, in order to meet all nutritional requirements of our human body. A diet includes a variety of food in the right proportion. So the right proportion should be there. So we should consume a diet that has carbohydrate, that has fat, that has protein, that should have vitamins, and that should also have minerals. And all of these should be present in the food in very right proportions in order to derive a maximum amount of energy, maximum amount of nutrition from the food resources. All right, it should provide, talking about the balanced diet only, it should provide all essential nutrients. So all essential nutrients should be provided by the balanced diet. That's why we are calling it a balanced diet, because we are balancing our diet to meet all the nutritional requirements of our body. All right, carbohydrates should be there, proteins should be there, fats, vitamins and minerals all should be present in a particular diet whenever we call it a balanced diet. So there should be a right proportion to each and every food element over there. All right, fat should be there, protein sources should be there, carbs should be included. All right, what do we actually get by a balanced diet is that it ensures proper growth. So there will be a proper growth of the living organism, there will be proper energy levels that are required by the living organism in order to perform any activity. All right, overall health will also be affected if the person is having a balanced diet. He will have he or she will have an overall good health as compared to the other organisms, other human beings which are having a normal diet. So the balanced diet person will have an advantage over all the other fellows. All right, helps prevent nutritional deficiency and associated health problems. Yes, if our bodies become deficit in some kind of vitamins, some kind of minerals, we will develop some related health problems as well, and we are going to study about that too, because the examinations we have seen multiple questions coming from diseases, coming from deficiencies and health problems also. Next, components of a balanced diet. So what does a balanced diet include here? Carbohydrates and fats are very essential to have a balanced diet. in order to provide energy to meet our daily needs, because the carbohydrate is the primary source of energy. But whenever the carbohydrate is being accessed in our is being present in excess quantities in our food, it will be stored under a name called as fat. But we will use this fat whenever carbohydrates are not there, so we will also utilize fat to obtain energy. So these are the energy providers actually. Carbohydrates and fats, both of these food elements provide energy to us. All right. Proteins are there. Now proteins are essential to create new cells and to, you can say, to create new tissues for growth and repair. Because let us assume that we have understood about the cell structure of living organism, talking about human beings only. All right, so the cell of human being, the cell of an animal, has the outermost layer which is made up of fats and proteins. So in order to make new cells, in order to make new tissues, new you can say, in order to repair the damaged organs as well, so what we require actually, we require the fat to build up the new cells, we require the protein to build up the new cells, because all of these will help in you can say multiplying most of our cells, making most of the cell components of our cell. So if the cell is being in a healthy condition, there will be the tissues which will be in the healthy condition, and then the organs will also develop in a healthy manner. So proteins are required because they supply us with the essential amino acids. So essential amino acids are those amino acids which are not synthesized by our own body, so we need to take them from the outside. All right, so there are other sources from which we have to get the proteins necessary for creating new cells and tissues for growth and repair. There are other factors, you can say, there are other components of food also, that include vitamins, that include mineral salts, and also include plant fiber. We often are ignoring the plant fiber as well in our diets, but it is very crucial for our health, for our gut health, for our, you can say, maintaining a healthy body, maintaining a healthy life also. So vitamins and mineral salts, these are essentials to carry out bodily functions and overall health. And plant fiber, it is important for the digestive health. Now, water is also essential, as we have already discussed in the one shot that named biological molecules, in which we studied that water is essential for these for creating the cytoplasm of the cell, because the cytoplasm consists of more than 70% of water only. So if the cell is healthy, then the whole body is going to be healthy, and water is serving as the another most important component of a balanced diet. So essential for hydration, our cells will be healthy, and various metabolic processes, because the water act as a medium to carry out other chemical reactions as well. All right. And next is we have energy requirement. Energy is essential for all bodily functions and activities. So in order to perform any activity, in order to perform any you can say any movement, we require energy. In order to get energy, we require carbohydrates and we require fats. So energy is essential for all bodily functions, activities, and whether the person is working, whether the person is spending time on his mobile phone, or the other person is you can say watching TV and having some sort of, um, you can say, that is already depicted. I do not want to say that because all right, I know you understand it, right? So whenever you perform any kind of activity, any kind of function, energy is required to carry out that particular function. Next we have, the required energy intake varies based on individual factors such as age, gender, occupation, and level of physical activity. So let us compare two persons. All right. So one person is an athlete. All right. He has most of his time occupied in performing certain body functions, certain physical activities. On the other hand, there is one person who is always sitting and not spending much time in physical activities. So what will be the energy requirements by these two individuals? There will be high energy demand by this organism, because this is requiring more energy, more energy to perform physical activities, and on the other hand there will be less energy requirements, less energy needs by this person who is just laying down on his you can say sofa, on bed, and is not performing any kind of physical activities. So the energy intake is also based on individual factors also, as age, as gender, as occupation, and level of physical activities. Let us understand this. All right. So if the person, you can say, if you take an example of a child's energy demand will be higher than a young individual. All right. Then talking about gender, a female is requiring less amount of energy as compared to man. That is scientifically proven. Then talking about the occupation, so the amount of or the kind of profession a person is in actually. So let us say if a person is a coach for a football team, all right, so he will be having his energy demands which are generally higher than the you can say than the person who is having a sedentary lifestyle, sedentary you can say desk job, who is working on his computer only and not being involved in any other physical activities. All right. And level of physical activities can also be considered whenever we are talking about the requirement of energy. So talking about the sources of energy, as we have already discussed, that carbohydrates are the cheapest source of energy. It will be the primary source of energy to extract energy from. Then fats, these provide the highest amount of energy. We are going to study about the amount of energy provided by these two also. Proteins offer similar energy as carbohydrates but are more expensive. All right. So what are the sources of carbohydrate, proteins, and fats? These images tell us the examples also. What are the energy uses actually? It maintains the internal body processes, not talking about human beings only. So we have an internal body temperature that is 37 degrees Celsius to 38 degrees Celsius, and we need to maintain this body temperature throughout our life, all right, because our body enzymes are most active at this particular temperature. So in order to survive, we have to maintain a particular body temperature. So in order to maintain this body temperature, we require a lot of energy. We require a lot of energy to maintain this kind of temperature. The other body processes which are heartbeat, which are breathing, these two, taking as an example, these two also require a high amount of energy requirement. All right. Keeping up body temperature, that is maintaining homeostasis. All right. That is in order to maintain homeostasis. Now, next we have enabling work and other activities. So these are the why the energy demand is different in each individual. Now measurement of energy is that measured in calories or joules. So energy is also measured in joules, and you can also measure it in calories. 1 gram of carbohydrate or protein provides 16 to 17 kilojoules of energy, whereas 1 gram of fat provides 37 kilojoule of energy. Daily energy requirement is approximately 12,000 kilojoule, and this depends on age, depends on occupation, depends on activity of the individual. Let us assume that there are 8 hours of sleep. So to have 8 hours of sleep, the person requires 2400 kilojoules of energy. In order to be awake for 8 hours and not performing, not doing any physical activity, he has or she has to spend 3000 kilojoule energy on that. Then 8 hours of physical activity, then he or she requires 6600 of 6600 kilojoules of energy. So in order to get all of these, a total of 12,000 kilojoule of energy is required by an individual, and this depends on age, occupation, and activity. I hope this is understood by you all. Moving further, next we have what are the factors which are affecting the energy requirements. As we have already discussed about these factors, what are these factors? These are the physical activities. More active individuals need more energy. We have understood by an example also. Gender. Females typically require less energy than females due to low average body mass. All right. Then age. Growing children need more energy. Energy needs to decrease with age due to slower metabolism and loss of muscle tissues. All right. So these are the other factors which affect the energy requirements. Energy used during the sleep. So while we are sleeping, the other body functions are active. The other body functions are being performed. What are those? This is circulation. So blood is moving throughout our body. Heart is pumping the blood. Heart is performing this process of pumping this blood through a very high pressure. All right. Breathing is there in order to meet the oxygen to carry out the respiration process, and through that we are obtaining energy from the food resources, and this energy is utilized to carry out the body functions. For an example, to carry out circulation, the energy will be required. Then body temperatures. To maintain a body temperature while we are asleep, we also require energy for that. To so in order to function, in order to proper functioning of the brain, we require energy, and a lot of energy is required in order to perform perfect, you can say appropriate brain function. Now all of this requires energy, and these demands are during sleep. Important chemical processes in the liver and other organs as well requires energy. So excess energy intake. So what happens when there is excess of amount of energy which is present in our bodies, that will be converted into another forms. If the diet provides more energy than needed, extra food is stored as glycogen in the liver. So first, what will happen? The extra food, that means the extra carbohydrate which is not consumed suddenly, it will be stored as glycogen in the liver. All right. So whenever we require the excess energy, so glycogen will be broken down into glucose and energy will be extracted from glucose only. Now second pointer here says excess food is stored as fat beneath the skin and in the abdomen. So we can see here that this is actually the extra fat. All right, this is the extra fat over here. And how does fat look like? So this is an example over here. This region particularly is representing the fat deposited under the skin of the individual who has consumed excess energy, excess carbohydrates in order to sustain a life, but the excess amount of carbohydrates were not utilized immediately, so they were stored as glycogen in the liver, and the excess food is also stored as fat beneath the skin and in the abdomen also. Moving further, there are certain classes of the food. Three main classes are carbohydrate, proteins, and fats, as we have already discussed in the chapter biological molecules also. The other classes of food also include salt, vitamins, water, and vegetable fiber, that is also termed as roughage. These components form a balanced diet and typically don't need separate intake. So a balanced diet must include all of these, and there should not be any other sources of having these vitamins or minerals separately. All right. Moving further, carbohydrates, let us taking an example of sugar and starch, potatoes, bread, maize, rice, and other cereals. All of these food components have sugar and starch in it. Sucrose, which is also commonly called as table sugar, the drinks and the prepared foods like jam, biscuits, and cakes all have sucrose in it. Glucose and fructose. So basically, these are mostly present in many fruits and some vegetables. And to be precise, the fructose is also known as fruit sugar, all right? So I'm writing it here, fructose, also known as fruit sugar. Moving further, we have, so there is a conversion of carbohydrate, that is the primary carbohydrate here we have is the glucose. The glucose will be converted into certain components whenever and wherever required by our body. When oxidized during respiration, they break down into carbon dioxide and water. So it is talking about a process of respiration in which what happens. So let us say that this is particularly a glucose molecule C6H12O6. In the presence of oxygen, it is broken down completely to release carbon dioxide and water with a lot of energy. So whenever we talk about aerobic respiration, a lot of energy is released during that particular process. Now if we also talk about another process, that is anaerobic respiration, in which the respiration is occurring in the absence of oxygen. So we are talking about, let us take an example of human muscle cells. All right, human muscle cells, taking the glucose as usual, and it is converted into lactic acid. There will be energy release, but the amount of energy released during this kind of respiration is very less as compared to the amount of energy released by aerobic type of respiration. Now, what the statement here is telling us, it is saying that when oxidized during respiration, so it is talking about glucose here. So whenever the glucose is oxidized during respiration, it is broken down to release carbon dioxide and water, as we have already understood by this chemical reaction over here. Then the carbohydrate provide an energy which is an average of 16 kilojoules of energy per gram. So 1 gram of carbohydrate is going to provide us 16 kilojoule of energy. All right. Now let us consider this chart over here. So cellulose is a complex carbohydrate which was made by glucose in the plants, because the component that is the cell wall in plants requires cellulose. It is not digested by human enzymes, but it is useful as roughage is it is actually providing us with plant fibers. All right, the starch, which is the stored form of carbohydrate in plants, it is digested to sugar first, and then it is changed to either glycogen or fat. So whenever we talk about that the sugar is converted into glycogen, it is stored in liver. All right, it is stored in liver. And whenever we talk about that the sugar is converted to fat, then it will be stored as fat deposits under the skin. So talking about if the sugar is oxidized in respiration, it will leave carbohydrate, it will be producing carbon dioxide and water with a lot of energy. So this is also termed as complete combustion process. This is complete combustion. Moving further, here we have the storage of the carbohydrates. So excess carbohydrates are converted in the liver to glycogen or fat. Glycogen is stored in the liver and muscles, whereas the fat is stored in fat deposits in the abdomen, around the kidneys or under the skin. So here is one diagrammatic representation in which digestive system is represented, in which the digestion will be occurring, and there will be absorption of the glucose molecules into our intestine also. So we are going to study about that also in today's one shot only. Then all right, so here in the middle, as you can see, glucose is there. So glucose is uh, undergoing a metabolic process which is being utilized by the muscles. Then glucose is then converted into glycogen by the liver, which is the organ here. Then here the glucose, all right. So pancreas is regulating the glucose levels in our blood. So basically the insulin is responsible for lowering down the blood glucose levels, and on the other hand glucagon will be antagonistic in the action as it increases the amount of sugar in blood. All right, I hope this is understood. Moving further, here we have cellulose. As we have already discussed that it is found in plant cell walls. It is indigestible by humans but is important as the dietary fiber, and we can commonly call it as roughage. It helps in maintaining a digestive health. And what is the diagrammatic representation here? It is representing the structure of cellulose actually. The fats are essential or crucial for energy storage. So what do we mean by fat? It is actually stored energy form of carbohydrate, and cell membrane structure providing a high energy yield. All right. It is also found in the cell membrane structure, as we have already discussed in previous one shots as well, that the you can say composition of cell membrane. So what is the cell membrane made up of? It is made up of fats and proteins. All right. So here you can see then how fats are crucial for the cell membrane structure. It also provides a high energy yield. Sources, what are the sources of fats? Talking about the sources from animals. So animal fats include meat, includes milk, cheese, butter and egg yolk. So all of these food sources actually provide us with fat. Talking about the plant fat, the sources are oils from fruits, Example, palm oil is represented here as an example. Seeds are also providing the plant oils, or you can say plant fat. Example, sunflower seed oil, which is used for cooking and making margarine. Alright, so all of these are sources of fats. What are the functions of fats actually? Talking about the first function here, it is essential for cell membrane, as we have already discussed in the previous slide, and other membrane systems as well. Can be oxidized during respiration to carbon dioxide and water. So what actually happens? So fat was formed by converting the excess amount of carbohydrate into fats, which are deposited under the skin. So glucose was first present, the excess glucose was converted into fats. Alright. So whenever we require more energy, we will break down this fat to release energy, and first we will have to break it down into glucose, and this glucose will undergo the process of respiration here and will release carbon dioxide and water as the products. Talking about the energy released by fats, 1 gram of fat provides 37 kilojoule of energy, offers more than twice the energy of carbohydrate. So what was the amount of energy provided by 1 gram of carbohydrate? It was approximately 16 kilojoule, and the amount of energy provided by carbohydrate and protein was almost similar. So it has written over here that offers more than twice the energy of carbohydrates or proteins of the same weight. What is the storage of fats here? Stored in the body in fat deposits, provides long-term energy storage. Fatty tissue forms a layer under the skin, reducing heat loss by limiting blood supply. So it actually has a benefit in the organisms that you can say that live in polar regions. So fat, you can say fat under the skin of organisms living in polar regions serve as an insulation serve as an insulation in order to tolerate extreme amount of temperature, which are cold temperature. The fat will help these organisms to survive. This is a representation over here. This is the fat deposition. All right, and this organism is also having fat all over his body, and it is actually making the organism survive in extreme conditions. Fat deposition to make their survival, to make their survival. All right, moving further, here we have next food component is proteins. Now proteins are vital for, these are vital for growth, for repair, for supplying essential amino acids, and we have already discussed what do we mean by essential amino acids. These are the type of amino acids which our body cannot make by its own, and we require the essential amino acids both from animal and from plant sources. Here the supply of amino acids needed to build the body structures also. Moving further, there is not much to be discussed over here. Sources are animal protein. So animal protein sources are lean meat, fish, eggs, milk and cheese. Plant protein sources are, it is found in all plants with soybeans, seeds like pumpkin and nuts being the best sources. So these are the best sources for protein. Talking about the digestion of proteins, here we have essential for building the cells and tissues. Let us first understand how is protein broken down inside our bodies. So basically, there are smaller units of amino acids. All right. Let us assume that these circles are representing single or one amino acid. These are amino acids. These amino acids are joined by peptide bonds and will make a whole molecule of protein. So here we have peptide bonds in between these amino acids. All right. This is a representation of protein molecule. Moving further, we have the A part, which is actually representing the types of amino acids represented in a different manner. Alright, so these amino acids will be broken down first. This chain will be broken down first. Alright, so all of these are representing different amino acids over here. There will be digestion that will occur on these protein molecules. This digestion breaks up the proteins into amino acids, and all the amino acids are separated in the next image. As you can see over here, all of the amino acids are separated. All right. Now, you can either use these amino acids directly or convert it into another kind of protein to form other structures as well, according to the body need. You can write according to the body need. All right, here we have our body builds up the same 14 amino acids, but into a protein it needs or it requires. So first, what happened? We had this food component protein into our body. We broke down into several amino acids. All right, so all of the amino acids were released from that protein component. Now these amino acids will be rearranged in order to have a different kind of protein. All right, so that the statement is saying us, our body builds up the same 14 amino acids, but into a protein it needs, into a different protein actually. The key here is, it is actually relating to the image present over here, is that ALA, which is abbreviated here, that actually means the amino acid alanine, and GLY abbreviation here is referring to glycine amino acids, and all of these are according. Amino acids are not used for new tissues as they cannot be stored. So amino acids are not used to prepare new tissues because they cannot be stored. Liver removes excess amino acids and converts residues to glycogen. Alright. So liver is performing this removal of excess amino acids, and that is the reason why we cannot store these amino acids. Glycogen can be stored or oxidized for energy. So glycogen is then converted into glucose, and from the glucose there will be complete combustion or incomplete combustion, and in order to get energy we require glucose, which is then converted from the glycogen only. 1 gram of protein provides approximately 17 kilojoules of energy. Protein differs from carbohydrates and fats in order because it contains nitrogen element, it has sulfur sometimes, but it will also always have carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. So as we have already discussed in chapter, I guess biological molecules, there were different food components, and we had talked about the elements present in these food components also. So this was protein. The component had nitrogen, and it also have sometimes sulfur, but it will always have carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. The protein requirements as stated by WHO, FAO, UNO, report recommendations, average person needs 0.57 gram protein per kg of the body weight. And what do we mean by this statement is that actually, if a person is having a weight of 70 kg, so 70 kg person will need approximately 70 gram protein per day in order to stay appropriately in a balanced form, in order to have a proper growth in his or her body. Sources to meet protein requirements. So what can be the protein requirement sources? 200 gram lean meat, 500 gram bread, 2 kg of potatoes, but it will not have essential amino acids. That means it will lacks all essential amino acids. Now, talking about this particular chart, so we have seen many questions coming directly from this chart only, in which nutrient is present in the first column, in second column there are sources of these nutrients, and in the third column there is the use of these nutrients. So first nutrient, let us say that this is carbohydrate. So what are going to be the good food sources for the carbohydrate is that rice can be a good source, potato, yam, cassava, bread, millet, sugary foods, that include cake, jam, honey. And what is the use of this glucose, this carbohydrate nutrient in the body? It is either stored or it is directly utilized to extract energy from them. Then talking about the another nutrient, which is fat or oil. Oil, all right. So there, these should be written as oils are, all right. Oils are liquid at room temperature, but fats are solid. What are the good food sources for these fats or oils? Butter can be a good source, milk, cheese, egg yolk, animal fat, groundnut, peanuts. Alright, what is the use of these fats in the body? Sources of energy twice as much as carbohydrate. Insulation against heat loss, some hormones, cell membranes, insulation of nerve fibers as well. So, all right, let me correct this over here. This should be insulation. This should be insulation. All right. So it is either you are using it directly for the energy, as it provides twice as much as carbohydrate provides. Insulation against heat loss. Some hormones are also having fat as its component. Cell membrane is also having fat as its component. Insulation of nerve fibers as well. So we require fat in order to perform all of these functions. Talking about the meat. So meat here, all right. So talking about protein, good food source for protein is meat, fish, eggs, soya, groundnuts, milk, corn, cowpeas, falafel. Now, it is required for growth, that is for tissue repair, for enzymes. Some hormones are also having protein as the component. Cell membrane also has, here is the structure which has protein in it. Nails can be broken down to provide energy whenever required, but it is quite expensive. Talking about another essential food component of the balanced diet. So another component of the balanced diet is vitamins. They are required in very less quantities, but their you can say their deficiency will lead to certain kind of deficiency symptoms in human bodies. So let us first understand what are these vitamins. Organic substances with different chemical structures. These are the organic substances that have different chemical structures. All right, so first point is already understood, I guess. All right, these are not digested or broken down for energy. These do not provide energy, so they are not for energy. The same way we write that not for sale. These are for not for energy. All right. These are not digested or broken down for energy, not usually built into body structures. So, where are these required? These are vital in small quantities for health, needed for chemical reactions in cells, working with enzymes. So, in order to perform certain chemical reactions, in order to work with certain enzymes, we require we require vitamins actually. So, what are the sources? Plant produce vitamins in leaves, and we have plant as a food, so we can derive those vitamin, or you can say we can fulfill our vitamin requirement by consuming the plants. Human obtain vitamins from plants or animals. There are certain type of vitamins. You can classify them into two categories. One is the water soluble vitamins, another is the water insoluble vitamins, that are the vitamins which are not soluble in water. So first category is here water soluble vitamins. These are found in green leaves, fruits, and cereal grains. What are those water soluble vitamins? These are B1, B3, B9, B2, B6, B12, this is vitamin H and vitamin C. So next category we have fat soluble vitamins, or you can also call these vitamins as water insoluble vitamins. Found in These are found in animal fats and vegetable oils. So you can remember these vitamins as well. A, D, E, K. So vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K. All of these are water insoluble and they are soluble in fat actually. Now, you are provided with a table here. So to summarize all of what we have studied about the vitamins, we have first here vitamin C. This is commonly called as the ascorbic acid. Water soluble, it is water soluble. All right, these are found in oranges. These are also present in lemons, grapefruit. So basically the citrus fruit has the vitamin C contents in it. Tomatoes, fresh green vegetables and potatoes also have certain quantities of vitamin C. Now what is the importance of this particular vitamin? It prevents scurvy. And what do we mean by scurvy? So here we also have this, all right, slide for that. So function is that it maintains healthy skin. It is about vitamin C. All right, it is about vitamin C here. It maintains the healthy skin. It prevents the bleeding of these gums too. It maintains healthy gums. So deficiency causes scurvy. All right. Symptoms: bleeding under the skin is also found. Constant tiredness is also found. Weakness is there in the individual. Irritability, joint pains, swollen or bleeding gums. Severe cases can lead to tooth loss also in case of deficiency of vitamin C. I hope this is understood. Moving back to the table here. All right. So diseases and symptoms caused by lack of vitamin. Fibers in connective tissue of the skin and blood vessels do not form properly, leading to bleeding under the skin and particularly at the joints, swollen bleeding gums and poor healing of wounds also. So there will be not a faster recovery of the wounds. All right, there will be a slow rate of recovery or healing of these wounds. These are all symptoms of scurvy. Notes: may act as a catalyst. So vitamin C can also act as a catalyst. And what do we mean by catalyst? That it increases the rate of chemical reaction here. So it act as a catalyst in cell respiration process. Scurvy is only likely to occur when fresh food is not available. All right. Cow's milk and milk powders contain little ascorbic acid. So babies may need other sources in order to get sufficient amount of vitamin C. Cannot be stored in the body. Hence, there will be a requirement of taking the vitamin C on a daily basis, all right, because it is not stored. Excess of it will be released out from the body. So, we require a daily intake for that. Talking about the vitamin D, that is also commonly called as calciferol. These are fat soluble, as we have already studied that fat soluble vitamins are A, D, E, K, all right, and one of that is vitamin D. Butter is the source, milk is the source, cheese is the source, egg yolk, liver, fish liver oil, all right, all of these are sources of vitamin C. Importance of vitamin here, that it prevents rickets. Now what do we mean by rickets here? Let us go through the image illustration here. All right, so studying about the vitamin D, it is unique in nature because our body can produce it when the skin is exposed to sunlight. So whenever our skin experiences an exposure towards the sunlight, our skin builds its own vitamin D. All right. Deficiency risk. So what if the person is having decreased amount of vitamin D in their bodies? Insufficient UV exposure, that is from the month October to April in Western Europe. Darker skin, there will be a chances of lesser absorbency of the UV rays, because darker skin reduces UV light absorption. Now clothing covering the whole body will also limit the absorption of sunlight, or you can say limit the exposure of sunlight towards the skin. Dietary sources of vitamin D. These are oily fish, which include sardines, mackerel. Then fish liver oil is also a good source of vitamin D. Butter, milk, cheese, egg yolk, fortified food products. So all of these will have vitamin D in them. All right. The function, what is the function of vitamin D actually here? It helps absorb calcium. It also absorbs phosphorus through the gut wall. So whenever we are consuming or having vitamin D in our food, we also require vitamin D in order to absorb the calcium, absorb the phosphorus present in our food. All right. So the deficiency leads to soft bones because there is a decreased absorption of calcium and phosphorus, and the bone is made up of calcium phosphate. All right, so there will be you can say there will be a condition in which soft bones are seen. Talking about children develop a deficiency of this that is termed as rickets, in which you can easily identify what is rickets. It is actually deformed leg bones. As you can also see in the image over here, this child is having deformed leg bones. That means that he is suffering from rickets, a deficiency kind of you can say symptoms which is found in children. All right. In adults, there will be increased bone fractures because the bone has become fragile. The bone has become soft. All right. Going back to the going back to the table over here. So diseases and symptoms caused by lack of vitamin is that calcium is not deposited properly in the bones, causing rickets in young children. So if vitamin D is not properly available or provided to the individuals, then the calcium will not be deposited properly in the bones of the organism, causing rickets in young children. So whenever we talk about young children, there will be this rickets which will develop if the person is having decreased vitamin D. So we have observed many questions coming from these deficiencies also. Deficiency of vitamin C causes scurvy, deficiency of vitamin D causes rickets in children. So both of these statements have their separate questions coming in the past year papers as well. The bones remain soft and are deformed by the child's weight. So, all right. So, since the bones have become soft, there will be a deformation by the body weight of the child only. And that's why it will lead to the deforming of the bones. Fractures are more likely to occur in adults, those who are deficient in the vitamin D quantities. Notes to be taken here: vitamin D helps the absorption of calcium. So, this is very crucial over here to understand why vitamin D is important, because it helps in the absorption of calcium from the intestine and deposition of these calcium salts in the bones. Natural fats in the skin are changed to a form of vitamin D by the sunlight, and this particular statement is very important. All right, the same goes with the vitamin C deficiency, that is this curve. It is also important as per examination point of view. All right, it is also important here. Moving to, all right, since we have covered all of these, so these are the two slides which we have missed. Here we have missing or deficient vitamins can cause vitamin deficiencies. Early stage diseases can be cured by adding the vitamin to the diet. Vitamin sources are citrus fruits. These includes oranges, lemons, limes, black currants, guava, mango, and cabbage also has vitamin C in it. Moving further, here we have, all right, this is all covered. Talking about the minerals next. These minerals are also known as mineral salts or commonly minerals. Essential elements beyond proteins, carbohydrates and fats. So apart from the requirement which is proteins, carbohydrates and fats, we also require mineral elements. These provide carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur and phosphorus present in the food which we eat. So all of the food which we eat has all of the minerals most of the times. All right. What are the list of minerals? You can get an idea from this diagram over here. Zinc is there, phosphorus, magnesium, then iron, silicon, potassium, molybdenum, copper, calcium, all of these are minerals. So name of the mineral will be there, and there will be importance of a particular mineral, diseases and symptoms caused by lack of mineral, and there will be notes accordingly. Let us see if we have further slides for that. Yes, we will further first proceed with the mineral elements, then we will come back to the table present over there. All right, here we have our first element, that is the iron. Now iron is very crucial. Now you will ask that how is it very crucial? Because it helps in building the pigment hemoglobin. Now it is that pigment which is present in the RBCs. What are those RBCs? These are red blood cells. Let me recombine all of these information here. The RBCs are the red blood cells in our blood. The RBCs are red due to a pigment, that is the hemoglobin. Now hemoglobin is further made if iron availability is sufficient. So in order to have a good amount of RBC in our body, we require iron for that. Now, what do iron actually help in hemoglobin? So, iron makes up the hemoglobin. Now, hemoglobin will be helping us to transport the oxygen molecules throughout the body in the form of you can say in the form of being combined to hemoglobin also, and in dissolved form also. But this hemoglobin is present in RBCs, and RBC is flowing throughout the body in the blood. All right. I hope this statement is clear to you all. RBC is there. Has a red pigment. That red pigment is hemoglobin. Now, hemoglobin, to make the hemoglobin, we need iron for that. All right. So, coming back over here, the function is component of hemoglobin in red blood cells, carries oxygen around the body because oxygen is being transported by this hemoglobin pigment. It is stored by the liver for the reuse. So, if we require the quantities of iron in later times, we can use the stored iron, and this is stored in the liver and we can reuse it. So, you can also see over here there is this hemoglobin molecule. It has these 4 groups over here. All right. Oxygen molecules are being transported by this hemoglobin molecule. Moving further, what are the sources of having proper iron requirements, proper you can say fulfilled demands of iron? We have red meat as the source of iron, that include liver, that include kidney, eggs, groundnuts, whole grains, brown rice, spinach and other grain vegetables are also a good source of iron. Now, what can be the deficiency of iron? So, here we have causes iron deficiency, and what is that? That deficiency is anemia. So, anemia is a condition whenever there is a deficiency of iron in the body. Decrease in the red blood cell. And what do we mean by anemia? It is actually decrease in red blood cell. Alright, so anemia is a condition to tell that the person is having decreased RBC. That means there will be decreased oxygen transport throughout the body. The person will be lethargic. All right. So symptoms are weakness will be there, tiredness will be there, irritability. All right. Adult need about 15 milligram of iron daily in order to have a healthy red blood cells count. Additional roles of these iron mineral are needed by the muscles. These are involved in enzyme systems in body cells also. These are muscles, all right. These are muscle cells. Talking about the next mineral, which is also very crucial, that is calcium. So by calcium, you can get an idea that these calcium will be required to build healthy bones, to build healthy teeth. All right. Here we have functions. Deposit is as calcium phosphate in bones and teeth that makes them hard. It is present in blood plasma. It is also vital for normal blood clotting. So calcium is also a crucial part in the blood clot formation. All right. Necessary for muscle contraction and nerve impulse transmission also. Triceps here are relaxed. These are the triceps over here. These are the triceps. All right. These are relaxed. And these are the biceps. These are contracted. So in order to perform this contraction and relaxation of the muscles, calcium is also required. All right. The sources of calcium here are milk, the primary source actually. It is can be in the form of liquid, can be in the form of skimmed or dried as a powder. Cheese is also a good source of calcium. Small quantities in most foods and hard water also has calcium element in it. Absorption, so many calcium salts are not water soluble, may pass through the alimentary canal without being absorbed. So there can be no absorption if if the calcium salts are not soluble in water. All right. So many calcium salts, as already stated in the statement, many calcium salts are not water soluble, may pass through the alimentary canal without being absorbed. So they can be directly removed out from the body without getting absorbed. Efficient absorption requires calcium in the right form, in the balanced diet, and a healthy intestine is also required in order to absorb required amount of calcium from the intestines. Vitamin D is very crucial, as we have already discussed in the previous slides as well. Vitamin D and bile salts aid in or you can say help in calcium absorption. What can be the deficiency? If the person is having decreased amount of calcium in the body, it leads to rickets, as we have already discussed. This means that the bones are easily broken. Other symptoms, weak bone and brittle nail. The other symptom is that muscle cramps are also very often in these organisms. Poor absorption can result from a lack of vitamin D in the diet. All right. So, what can be a major factor for having decrease of calcium in the body? So, poor absorption because of a lack of vitamin D in the diet as well. Dietary fiber, that is the another component, but before proceeding with the fiber, we will first go back to the table and have a clear bifurcation for all of these minerals. All right, here we are moving forward, here moving with calcium first. All right. So name and source of mineral iron is present in the first column. There will be importance of the mineral iron present in the second column. The third column will provide the diseases and the symptoms caused by lack of these particular minerals, and there will be certain notes to that. Moving forward, here we have calcium, which is can be you can say can be obtained from milk, cheese, fish, some sources of water, example hard water. Then what is the importance of this mineral? It is needed to form healthy bones and form normal blood clotting. Diseases and symptoms caused by lack of minerals is that early signs are muscle ache. So there will be muscle ache if the person is having initially decreased amount of calcium, cramps and spasms with numbness of hands, feet and around the mouth. Teeth and bones become soft and more easily breakable because to make the teeth strong, to make the bone strong, we require calcium. Deficiency can lead to rickets linked to vitamin D deficiency and osteoporosis. So there is degeneration of the bone. All right. There will be decreased amount of calcium deposited in the bones. Notes are that most food contains small amount of calcium. So most of the times, whichever food we are consuming have a small amount of calcium in that. A shortage of calcium in the diet at first results in the calcium being removed from the apparent. So first is that if what the statement is telling us, a shortage of calcium in the diet at first result in calcium being removed from the apparent. Yes, this is already understood by the statement only. Name and source of the mineral is that another mineral. Here we have iron. It can be provided to the body if the person is consuming red meat, liver, kidney, eggs, green vegetables, spinach, cabbage, cocoyam, groundnut leaves and chocolate. Importance of this mineral will be, as we have already discussed, so needed for formation of hemoglobin in red blood cells, for transport of oxygen, because the red blood cell has those pigments which are red in color. And what are the name of these pigments? Hemoglobin is the name for that pigment. Hemoglobin is transporting the oxygen across our body. All right. So diseases and symptoms. Anemia will be caused. The symptoms are constant tiredness and a lack of energy is seen in the individuals which lack or have a deficiency of iron in them. In women, heavy periods can result in a loss of a lot of iron, which can result in anemia. So one of the main causes of having anemia in a majority of the women is that because of the heavy periods they lose a lot of iron through that. All right. So we have completed the minerals part. Moving forward, here we have next. So yes, proceeding with the dietary fiber, that is also termed as roughage. Sources of dietary fiber will be vegetables and fresh plant materials. So these both will provide us with the dietary fiber, that is the roughage. The composition of dietary fiber is what? The plant cell walls made of cellulose, which is not digested by our human bodies, that is undigestible by human enzymes. The function of these dietary fibers include increases colon contents and helps retain water, softens feces and reduces transit time for undigested material, and prevents constipation and maintains a colon health. So these are all the functions performed by the dietary fiber. So you can assume how much this dietary fiber or roughage is important in our balanced diet. In order to have a proper metabolism, in order to have a good colon health, in order to have you can say soft feces, we have to get adequate amount of dietary fibers. So dietary fibers are also you can say classified as insoluble fiber and soluble fiber. So the benefits of insoluble fibers are that it is good for colon health and eases and prevents constipation. Now benefits of the you can say soluble fibers is that it makes us stay fuller for longer, that it reduces our hunger, it lowers the blood cholesterol levels also, and it improves the blood sugar levels, which might be increased due to heavy intake of carbohydrate food. All right, moving here, the good sources of dietary fiber include vegetables, fruit, whole meat, bread. The poor sources include white flour, white bread. Next, we have water. So, water is also behaving as a very essential part of our balanced diet. As we have already discussed about water, that 70% of most tissues consist of water, because a cell has 70% of its volume occupied by water. Vital part of the cytoplasm of the cell. You can also state over here that vital part of the cytoplasm of the cell. Major component of the body fluids, that is it helps to provide a good composition for blood, lymph, tissue fluid as well. Functions of water include solvent and transport medium for digested food, salt, vitamins and excretory products, that include excess salt. So excretory products are those products which are present in excess quantities, in excess of requirements, and these are to be excreted out from the body. That include excess salt and excess urea also. So now we have second statement that says facilitates digestion by breaking down insoluble substances into soluble ones. So in order to obtain the soluble substances from the insoluble substances, it helps in digestion of breaking these insoluble substances. So it is also involved in numerous cellular reactions as a reactant, as a solvent also. So these are all the functions of water. Next is that loss and replacement. Now it is lost through evaporation. So whenever there is excess heat surrounding that particular human being, there will be a lot of evaporation, there will be a lot of sweating by that organism, and in this manner it will lose water from its body. Urination will also lead to removal of water from the body. Breathing also remove water from the body, because the air which we are breathing out has water vapors in it. So in order so to state that water is also removed by breathing, we can say that the exhaled air also has water vapors in it. Second point here says replace by intake of water through diet. So how can we replace all of the water lost through all of these processes stated in point 1, so we can have more and more water in order to be healthy, in order to be hydrated. Next we have digestive system. So digestion is the process of breaking down into the breakdown of the complex food substances which are not soluble actually, and then into soluble substances which can be further absorbed into the bloodstream, because in the blood the majority of the component of blood is water. So the substances must be made water soluble also in order to get absorbed into the bloodstream. It involves both mechanical digestion like chewing. So by we actually means that we are referring to the mechanical digestion. So by chewing and chemical digestion through the enzymes. So their division of digestive system, actually it is firstly divided in mechanical digestion, and the other segment is that the chemical digestion. The mechanical digestion involves mechanical breakdown of these complex molecules into smaller substances, whereas the chemical digestion involves the changing of chemical nature of these molecules as well. Now, the blood delivers dissolved food to cells in tissues and organs. Since we already have understood that blood is the main part, main component over here in which the absorption of food will occur. So, the food which has been broken down into smaller soluble quantities, smaller soluble substances, this smaller soluble substances will be absorbed into the blood. Alright, so first we have provided the blood with the nutrients, with the food components here. Then another factor here that need a consideration is that during the process of breathing, we actually are providing the blood vessels with oxygen. So let us assume that this is the alveoli here, and alveoli are richly supplied with blood vessels. So in this manner, the oxygen is getting into the blood. Oxygen is getting into the blood through the process of this breathing in and breathing out. Then the carbohydrate present in the dissolved soluble form will be also present in the blood. So this blood will be delivered to all the cells. Now what will happen in that cell? The cell will receive the glucose, the cell will receive the oxygen. Now glucose is there, oxygen is there, there will be anaerobic respiration. So by this, the glucose will be broken down to release energy, and there will be complete digestion, complete combustion of the glucose molecule also. There will be formation of carbon dioxide and water as the products. There will be release of a lot of energy in that process also. Alright, so whatever you are eating, whatever you are getting inside our body, so you have to get it toward the blood, because blood is the only, you can say, only the region, you can say blood is the only fluid which is reaching all the part of the body, all the cells of the body. So it must provide the cells with glucose, it must also provide the cells with oxygen. The oxygen is coming from that breathing in and breathing out process, and the glucose and other food components are also coming from the process of digestion. So in this particular chapter, we will be studying about the digestion of the food components. What are those food components? Carbohydrate, fats, proteins. These three components will be broken down into you can say soluble, smaller substances. Since these are complex insoluble substances, they will be first converted into soluble smaller substances, and then it will reach into the blood, and there will be assimilation of these components by the cells of our body. I hope this flow chart is clear to you all, and you have a clear idea on what we are going to study in the digestive system here. Alright, I hope this is understood. Now, blood delivers dissolved food to cells in tissues and organs. I hope this is understood. This statement is clear to you all. This process makes nutrient available to the body cells. And why do the nutrients are required by the cells to obtain energy in order to grow? Because the cells will multiply, and to multiply the cells require energy. The energy will be again coming from these nutrients only. All right. There can also be a repair of you can say damaged tissues, damaged cells. So there is a diagrammatic representation that depicts the parts of the digestive system. So there are certain parts of digestive system. So let us assume first from where this digestive system is starting. It is starting from the mouth. It is going toward the and extending toward the anus. So here we have the flow chart to that. First is the mouth, or you can say the mouth cavity here, and it is extended toward and ending to anus point over here, from which the undigested food material will be removed out from the body. Next we have on the right hand side, there is a list of associated glands which is related to the digestive system here. So first is the salivary glands, then we have pancreas, liver and gallbladder. So all of these glands are associated with the digestive system, and we are going to study about these two. Alright, moving further, next we have, alright, so we have the alimentary canal as the next topic over here. Alright, so after completing the parts of digestive system, moving forward here with our next topic, that is the alimentary canal. So what is the alimentary canal? It is basically a tube that extends from the mouth and towards the anus. So it is extending towards anus from the mouth. So we can write here that it extends from mouth to anus. So this all long tube here is the alimentary canal. So here is one defined for that, tube running through the body for digestion. Now longitudinal muscle fibers are there in the alimentary canal. Circular muscle fibers are there in the alimentary canal, and lining epithelium with digestive glands also is present. Let us see what is the importance of these. Alright. Function is that it digests food. Now we are talking about that the alimentary canal started from mouth and it ended to the anus point. Since it is a function here that it digests food. Now how it is available to digest the food? So there are certain modifications in the alimentary canal. There are glands, they have some secretions, there are enzymes working on the food materials. So there will be digestion, and the complete digestion will be occurring in the part of the alimentary canal, that is the small intestine. We will be studying about that too. Next is that it absorbs the soluble products. So what is the absorption of the soluble products? Basically we absorbed, we can say we ingested the food particles. All right, these were complex insoluble materials, and throughout the alimentary canal these insoluble complex molecules are broken down into smaller soluble molecules, and after that when they are converted into the soluble molecules, they will be absorbed into our bloodstream. So that is why it is writing over here that the function of alimentary canal here is absorb soluble products, expel indigestible food materials, you can say food molecules. The process is called as egestion. So the undigested food material is removed out from the body, is expelled out from the body, and the process of removal of these undigested food material is termed as egestion. Moving forward, here we have, there are associated digestive enzymes also which will be acting upon the food molecules. So here some produced by the cells in the lining of the alimentary canal. Let us assume that, let us take an example of stomach lining. So stomach lining has glands in it, and these glands are responsible for producing the digestive enzyme. These enzymes will be further acting upon the food materials. We will be studying about that too. Others produced by glands outside the alimentary canal. So let us assume that this was the our, let us say, all right, so here let us see that this is actually the alimentary canal. It is starting from here. I hope this is visible to you. This is the region of mouth over here. All right, and from that it will be extended toward this anus. All right, and we have the small intestine in between also. But apart from this alimentary canal, there are associated glands also. And what are those associated glands? These are salivary glands, pancreas, liver, and gallbladder. They are not part of the alimentary canal, but they are associated in digestion of the food materials. So these glands will be synthesizing certain type of digestive enzymes which will be secreted into the alimentary canal, and these enzymes will be further acting upon the food materials. All right, I hope this is clear. It will become more clear when we move forward with our chapter. Here, other produced by the gland outside the alimentary canal. And what are those glands? These can be salivary gland, then pancreas, liver. All right, so these can be the associated glands. Release enzymes through ducts into the alimentary canal. Now how can these glands release the enzymes into the alimentary canal? So there are their associated ducts with these associated glands. So associated glands have their ducts through which they will pour their secretions into the alimentary canal. This statement is telling about that. Example is salivary gland or pancreas. So salivary glands are present over here. All right, these are the salivary glands. This is the location. But where is the saliva secreted? It is secreted into the mouth. So the saliva must be carried through a duct from the salivary gland into the mouth for its action on the food material. All right. Now you can see whole associated glands in this particular diagram. We will start first with mouth over here. This is the mouth region from which the ingestion will occur. Ingestion is taking the food into our mouth. All right, this is the mouth region. The tongue is there. Tongue will help to mix the food with saliva. All right, and softens the food. It helps in swallowing of the food also. Then there are associated salivary glands. These salivary glands will secrete a salivary amylase, or you can say will secrete saliva which has a salivary amylase in it. We will be studying about that too. Then epiglottis is there. Epiglottis is a structure. It is a flap actually that prevents the entry of food or food particles into the windpipe. All right. So it covers the windpipe while we are swallowing the food particles. Windpipe, you can commonly call it as trachea. Gullet is the opening for the esophagus. You can also call it as food pipe. All right. Diaphragm is there. So diaphragm is not associated with the digestive system, but we have this diagrammatic representation in which you can relate how the structures of our body, our organs are associated, are located inside our bodies. Stomach is there, pyloric sphincter is there, duodenum is there. So let us first see what are these glands, what are their functions, and then we will be able to tell what are the associated glands to this digestive system. Stages of digestion. So first what will happen, there will be ingestion, so taking food inside our body. First we will write about the ingestion process. It is a process in which the food material is taken into our mouth. All right, that's all about ingestion. The ingested food will now travel toward the food pipe and going down toward the stomach. All right, so this is the esophagus extending from the mouth. All right, so before that there will be a region of pharynx. So let us see that this is, let us assume that this is the particular structure here. We have this mouth region. All right, and then there is a region in which there is a common passage for food and air. So this region particularly is the pharynx region, where it is serving as the common region for food and air both. Now the food will be transferred toward the esophagus. So here let us say that this is the esophagus, and here this is the windpipe. This is the windpipe, and this one is the esophagus, or you can say the food pipe. All right. So we ingested our food, then the food will be transferring toward the esophagus. So esophagus is there. After that, what will happen? The food will be received by stomach. The food is received here by stomach. All right. And then it passes to small intestine. So the first region of small intestine is there. Then the highly coiled structure of small intestine. The food will be then transferred to the large intestine over here. I hope this is relatable. Then it will further move toward the rectum and the anus. Now, first of all, what was happened actually, there was a process of ingestion, taking the food into our mouth. There will be swallowing of the food. This transfers the food or the food particles into our esophagus. There will be the peristalsis movement which will occur inside the muscles of the esophagus, which will transfer the food toward the stomach. All right. So stomach is there. At the region of stomach, what will happen? There will be digestion of the proteins which will start in the stomach. Not complete digestion will be happening in the stomach. There will be initiation of the protein digestion that will occur in stomach region. All right. The food will be then transferred to the small intestine. All right. And after that, the undigested food will be received by large intestine. All right. So let us first see that this is the whole chart for the digestive system of our body. And here the common stages of the digestion are ingestion, taking the food into our mouth. Then there will be storage. So there will be storage of the food material inside our stomach, inside our small intestine for quite some time. Till the time by that time the enzymes will be acting upon these food materials. There will be absorption, and before that digestion will occur. So there will be complete digestion in the region of small intestine. And where is the small intestine? This is the small intestine, where the complete digestion of food material will occur? Small intestine. All right. There will be completed digestion, and after the digestion process has finished, there will be absorption of the soluble products. All right, so whatever is the soluble simple form of that particular food component, let us assume whether it is carbohydrate, whether it is protein, whether it is fat, all will be broken down into the smaller soluble particles, and these are further absorbed into the small intestine. I hope this is clear by now. The flow chart is clear to you all. Moving forward, after that, the digested food material has been you can say there is absorption of the soluble products. There will be undigested food material left in the small intestine, which will be passed toward the large intestine. So here is the region of large intestine. This is representing large intestine. All right. From the large intestine, the undigested food material will pass and will be accumulated in the region of rectum till there is an urge to pass these undigested food material out of the body through the anus. So anus is that point from where the egestion will occur. The passing the undigested food material will occur from the point of anus. I hope this is clear. All right. Ingestion is there. Taking of substances such as food and drink into the body through the mouth is termed as ingestion. I hope this is clear. Then there is mechanical digestion. Now, what do we mean by mechanical digestion? Basically, there is no chemical change in the food components, in the food particles. There will be only this change in the physical state of the food materials. The large food material will be broken down into smaller food materials. All right. So, here you can also write in a simpler manner, large food material broken down into smaller food materials to facilitate activity of enzymes. So there will be more exposed region for the activity of enzyme, and enzyme will work efficiently in this particular smaller food particles. All right. Mechanical digestion occurs in mouth. Mechanical digestion occurs in stomach as well. So we can write here, it occurs in mouth. It occurs in mouth by teeth. It occurs in mouth by teeth. Then it also occurs in stomach. It also occurs in stomach. So there is a churning movement by which a slurry of the food material has been obtained in the stomach, and that also means that there is the mechanical digestion of the food materials. The larger molecules of the food are broken down into smaller molecules of food. All right. Other digestion is that the chemical digestion will occur. Now, what do we mean by chemical digestion? Through the mechanical digestion, we actually made the smaller molecules of the food materials. Now, what will happen? There will be activity of the enzymes which will change the chemical nature of the food. Now, this is what we mean by chemical digestion. There is a breakdown of large insoluble molecules because the insoluble molecules were not directly absorbed into the bloodstream. So, they have to be made into smaller soluble molecules in order to get absorbed into the bloodstream in the region of small intestine by the structures of villi. I hope you are getting this straight into your mind, that there is a flow chart, and you will see how the flow chart is going to fit into your mind directly. All right. So let us say that the carbohydrates are the food components. These will be acted upon by amylase enzyme, sucrase isomaltase enzyme, maltase enzyme, lactase enzyme, and these will be broken down to release smaller soluble molecules. These molecules are of glucose. Then proteins are there, so protein will be acted upon by pepsin, trypsin, peptidase, and these will be further broken down to release amino acid. These amino acids are smaller soluble molecules and these are directly absorbed into the bloodstream. Fats are there acted upon by the enzyme lipase, and these will be further broken down into fatty acids and glycerol. So this is what we mean by chemical digestion. So students, there have been many questions coming directly from the statement for the chemical digestion and the physical digestion. So what do we mean by chemical digestion? You have to select the right statement for that from the given options. What do we mean by physical digestion? And you are provided with again 4 statements, and you have to select one statement for the correct definition of physical digestion. So this is the type of question that has been coming from these two types of digestion actually. There is this process of absorption, and what do we mean by absorption? Absorption is the movement of small food materials. Now students, what had happened actually, we ingested the insoluble large complex food materials. We broke down these large insoluble food material into smaller soluble food materials. Since we have now obtained the smaller soluble materials, there will be absorption of these small food materials into the walls of the intestine. These are surrounded by the blood vessels. So the walls of intestine have structures called villi. We will be studying about that. Structures of villi have richly supplied blood vessels in them. So the you can say absorbed substances will enter. So there is absorption of these substances that will be occurring into the bloodstream of that. So there is this diagram which is representing that the small intestine is able to absorb all of the soluble food materials that have been broken down by the chemical digestion, and there will be this transport of all the nutrients toward the other organs of the body through the blood. So blood is that tissue which is transporting all of the soluble nutrients toward each and every part, toward each and every cell of our body. All right, so there is this direction. That means that blood is going to all directions in our body. Assimilation is the process in which you can say that once the blood have reached the cell will now be able to utilize the components present in the blood. So let us assume that carbohydrates was broken down into the glucose molecules. Now glucose will be taken up by the cells to perform its various function. All right, so this taking up the glucose from the blood and utilizing it to carry out further functions is termed as the process of assimilation. Let us see what the define is telling us. Assimilation is the movement of digested food molecules into these cells, and by digested food materials we mean that the smaller soluble materials which have been absorbed into the blood. The blood has now reached each and every cell of the body. The movement of digested food molecules into the cells of the body where they are used becoming part of the cells, or they can be used to carry out other processes that may occur in the cells, and that include metabolic reactions as well. So let us assume that glucose was there. All right, so glucose is absorbed by the cells. Now the blood is also carrying oxygen from the respiratory you can say respiratory scheme. We will be studying about the respiratory system in another one shots, but for now let us just concentrate on this thing, that the alveoli which are richly supplied with blood vessels have now received the oxygen coming from the lungs, coming from the outside, coming from the you can say traveling through the respiratory passage. So the oxygen has traveled into the alveoli, and these alveoli are richly supplied with blood vessels. So oxygen has entered into the bloodstream now. Now this blood also has oxygen. Now students, I can now assure that you can correctly guess this kind of reaction, that what is going to proceed after this. Glucose is there, oxygen is there, what is going to happen? There will be aerobic respiration. Why do we call it aerobic respiration? Because oxygen is involved in the process. So glucose will combine to the oxygen and now will be converted into carbon dioxide plus water, and a lot of energy will be released. So this is what we mean by assimilation, that utilization of the soluble components by the cells to carry out its further functions or to make other components of the cell as well. This is what we mean by assimilation. All right. So small intestine, from the small intestine, the blood that was running through the villi have now received the soluble smaller food components, and the blood is now carrying this all of these absorbed nutrients to other organs. So there is liver also, in which the direction of the blood is also being represented here. Digestion is the process in which the food that is undigested will be removed out from the body. Alright. Passing out of the food that has not been digested or absorbed as feces through the anus. Now, anus is that part from which the undigested food material will be removed out from the body. So, this is basically the anus. Alright. This is the representation of anus over here. Now, let us see what are these structures over here. These structures are of, so this is this whole structure over here. This whole structure over here is large intestine. Now the question has been asked from large intestine to tell that what are the structures of large intestine, what are the parts of large intestine. You have to select the incorrect option which is not identifying as a part of large intestine. So what are the part of large intestine? We have cecum, colon, rectum, and anus is the opening through which the undigested food material will be removed out from the body. Now the cecum is that part which is getting connected toward the small intestine. So let us see that if I say that here, let us erase all these structures, or let us make another structure over here. All right, let us say these are the large intestine over here. All right, these are the large intestine. This is the anus. This is a rough diagram for the large intestine. As we have also seen that there was this structure called stomach, which was passing down the food toward the small intestine, and these are the small intestine over here. So the region from which the small intestine is getting connected to the large intestine is termed as cecum here. So this region will be termed as cecum. This is cecum. It is actually a part of large intestine. Now all of these structures, this structure, and this structure here, all of these are parts of large intestine, that is colon. Colon is the structure of these represented diagram over here. Then we have, this is the region at where the undigested food material will be stored till they are egested from the body, and this region is called as rectum. This region is called as rectum. I hope this is visible to you. Then this is the opening from which the passing of the undigested food material will be occurring. This is anus. I hope this is clear. Now, from the given diagram over here, you can relate. There is this appendix structure. So the extended part over here, this is representing actually the appendix. All right. Then this is colon. This is colon, but the name is according to the direction of movement of these undigested food material. This one is the ascending colon. Ascending colon. This one is the transverse colon, and this one here represents descending colon, and here this region is sigmoid colon. Let's not go deep into the discussion of these large intestine part of the colon over here. Moving forward here, we have here, so this is how we have summarized all the stages of digestion. First, what will occur? Ingestion will be there, taking the food material into the body. Digestion is there, breaking down the food inside our bodies. Absorption is there, moving food into the cells. Assimilation is there, making food part of our cell, or it is being utilized by the cells to perform various cells functions. Then elimination is there. All right, and this is the diagrammatic representation. You can relate to these statements. Now, what are the functions of alimentary canal? The digestive processes are ingestion, propulsion. Propulsion is moving the food material throughout the alimentary canal. Whether it is moving the food material from the mouth to the stomach, or it is moving the food material from the stomach to the small intestine, it is all known as or termed as propulsion. Mechanical digestion is there. It occurred in the mouth by the teeth, and it occurred in stomach also. Chemical digestion is there. Absorption is there, that is occurring in the small intestine, and defecation is there. So defecation is the removal of undigested food material, and those undigested food material are also called as feces. So this is what we mean by defecation. All right. Propulsion is there, swallowing through the oropharynx, a part of pharynx that is receiving the food material over here. Peristalsis is a type of movement through which the food material is transported throughout the alimentary canal. So this is rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the muscles of alimentary canal that help to move the food forward in our alimentary canal. Esophagus, stomach, small intestine, these are all having this feature in which they all can perform this peristalsis movement. Chemical digestion will be occurring. Mechanical digestion, chewing by the mouth, in the mouth by the teeth actually, churning by the stomach, segmentation in the small intestine, we will study about that. Absorption is there, so nutrient and water to blood vessels and lymph vessels. Whatever we have absorbed here will be transported to each and every part of the body through the blood, and there is also another system that is called as the lymphatic system, which has lymph vessels. So food will be absorbed in that too, but this is not a part of digestive system over here. This need not to be concerned over here. We will study about that in later one shots as well. So small intestine, water to blood vessels, large intestine. So water will be absorbed to the blood vessels through the large intestine. There will be nutrients and water absorption to the blood vessels and lymph vessel by the small intestine. Now, since we have now summarized all the stages of the digestion process, we can say that what are the particular, you can say, functions of each and every part of the alimentary canal here. So first of all, talking about the mouth region. Mouth had teeth, mouth had tongue, mouth received saliva with associated salivary glands over here. Alright, so function can be ingestion of the food through the mouth, mechanical digestion by the teeth, chemical digestion of starch by amylase. Now, this is a point which needs a sort of discussion over here. Saliva has, or you can say salivary glands secrete saliva, secrete saliva. Saliva has salivary amylase. Now this is the enzyme over here which will be acting upon the starch molecules. This is the enzyme. Digest starch. So here the statement is telling us that chemical digestion of the starch will be occurring by the amylase enzyme. And why did it state that there will be chemical digestion? Because we will be changing the nature of the carbohydrate here. We will be converting the complex carbohydrate, that is the starch, into smaller soluble food materials or food substances of carbohydrate here. Formation of a bolus for swallowing. So whatever has made inside our mouth after the food has been ingested, after the you can say action of the salivary amylase, now this particular food particle will be now called as bolus. All right, this bolus will be now going forward after we swallow it using our tongue. Salivary glands are there. Saliva contains amylase for chemical digestion of starch in food, also liquid to lubricate food and make small pieces stick together. So this is the function of saliva actually. Esophagus, that is also called as food pipe. Food pipe. It transfers food from mouth to the stomach by the peristalsis movement, that is the rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the muscles. Stomach has gastric glands that produces gastric juice. It contains pepsin for chemical digestion of protein. So as we have already stated in previous slides that there will be initiation of protein digestion that will be occurring in the stomach organ. Also, hydrochloric acid is there to kill the bacteria, and peristalsis churns the food up into a liquid, or you can say to make a slurry of the food materials. All right. Duodenum is the first part of the small intestine. So let us say that we have small intestine region. So this small intestine has three parts. First is the first here is the duodenum. Then we have jejunum, and after that we have ileum. All right. So these are all parts of small intestine. Now duodenum will receive the food from the stomach directly because it is connected in, you can say, proximity towards the stomach. Let us say that this is the stomach over here. All right. So here we have started this small intestine. So this region, this part over here is the duodenum. All right. This one is the duodenum. Let us see what the statement is telling us. First part of the small intestine receives the pancreatic juice for chemical digestion for proteins, fats and starch as well. Neutralizing the acid from the stomach receives bile to emulsify fat, a form of physical digestion. Now what is occurring over here? The small intestine's first part, that is the duodenum region. This duodenum region will be receiving the secretions from associated glands. What are those associated glands? There is pancreas, and there is liver, there is you can say, all right. So here we have only the pancreatic juice and you can say bile. So there are involvement of two organs over here. Duodenum will now receive secretions from pancreas. All right. Liver. Liver will be transporting the bile. The bile will be first stored in the gallbladder and then it will be transported toward the duodenum. The pancreas will be making up the pancreatic juice and this will be transported to the duodenum region. That is the first part of the small intestine. I hope the flowchart is clear to you all. Duodenum is the first part of the small intestine. It receives the pancreatic juice for chemical digestion because pancreatic juice has certain enzymes for the digestion of protein, for the digestion of you can say fats, for the digestion of carbohydrates as well. Then there is neutralizing the acid from the stomach. This pancreatic juice will also neutralize the acid from the stomach because the stomach had secretions of hydrochloric acid. Now the food has become acidic in nature. Now there is a need to neutralize this acid because there will be activity of certain enzymes which require alkaline medium to be active. All right. Acidic medium will not allow the activity of the enzymes efficiently. It receives bile to emulsify fats, a form of physical digestion. Ileum is the second part of the small intestine. Enzymes in the epithelial lining carry out chemical digestion of maltose. So maltose was formed first in the mouth where salivary amylase was acting upon the starch. Starch was converted into maltose. Now this maltose has moved forward because there was no digestion occurring in the stomach region. So the maltose has been received by the, you can say, small intestine as it is. So there was some digestion in the duodenum region as well, but the complete digestion will occur in the forward regions of small intestine. The enzymes in the epithelial lining carry out chemical digestion of the maltose and peptides very long and has villi to increase the surface area for absorption and digested food materials. What do we mean by these statements? Because as we have already studied in the biological molecules, the proteins are made up of amino acids. Now to break down these proteins, we have to first go through a stage in which peptidases are also formed. So peptidases will be acting upon the peptides that is the intermediate from the protein toward the amino acids. So protein will be first converted to peptides, then these peptides will be further converted into amino acids. So there are enzymes to digest these peptides into our bloodstream. in the region of small intestine, and there will be enzymes carrying out this chemical digestion of peptides here. Very long and has villi to increase the surface area. So there is increased length of small intestine. So why the name is small intestine? Because the narrow lumen is there. This is the tube, this is the tube, all right. This is the region, or you can say the empty part in the tube. This is termed as the lumen. So why did we call small intestine as small? Because it has narrow lumen. It is having narrow lumen. Let us say this was the tube extending throughout the lower abdomen. This is the small intestine. It has a narrow lumen. That's why the name is small intestine. And why do we call large intestine as large intestine? Because it has large lumen. All right, it has, you can say, this is the lumen of large intestine and this is the lumen of small intestine. I hope this is clear why the name is small intestine and the large intestine. But contrary to the names provided to these intestines, small intestine is actually the longest part of the alimentary canal here. So very long in structure, has villi to increase the surface area for absorption of the digested food material. Pancreas is an organ that will be producing pancreatic juice and then secretes this pancreatic juice into the duodenum region via the pancreatic duct. So this particular duct is called as pancreatic duct for the chemical digestion of proteins, fats and starch. So there was, you can say, yes, we studied about the regions of alimentary canal, then we got to know about their functions as well. Moving forward, here we have liver, which is the associated organ here. What is the function of liver? It makes the bile. It contains the salts to emulsify fats. And what do we mean by emulsification of fats? That means breakdown of the large fat molecules into smaller fat molecules. Large fat molecules broken down to release smaller fat molecules, or you can say fat globules. So this is one function which is performed by the bile. This is also called as physical digestion because there is no change in the chemical nature of the fat molecules. Assimilation of the digested food such as glucose, deamination of excess amino acids will also occur. So we will study about this particular statement in the excretory system chapter. All right. Colon. Now these are the part of large intestine. Large intestine. Colon will be storing the bile. Then, all right, this must be gallbladder. This should not be colon. All right. Because gallbladder is that particular structure which is storing the bile over here. It should be gallbladder. It stores the bile. It is made in the liver. So the bile is made in the liver. It is to be secreted into the duodenum via the bile duct. So the duct name here is the bile duct. Now rectum is the region where the undigested food material was stored until there was an urge to pass these food materials out from the body. First part of the large intestine over here, absorption of water from undigested. Alright, so let us cross this particular segment over here. We will study about that in large intestine part. Alright, do not study about this. Process and the definitions are provided in this column. Absorption, taking the substances and absorbing it into the bloodstream, that is food and drink into the body. Then, all right. So there are also incorrect names over here. Let us cross this particular region and try to name all of these processes in the right column. Since we have all discussed about all of the processes in detail. The taking of substances, example food or drink, into our body through the mouth, it is termed as, what do we mean by that? It is called as ingestion. Ingestion. Breakdown of the food is called as digestion. The movement of nutrients from the intestine into the blood, it is absorption. The uptake and use of nutrients by the cell, it is assimilation. The removal of undigested food material from the body as phases, and what do we call it? It is called as digestion. I hope this is clear. All right, moving forward. All right, here we have physical digestion process. So where we will be going toward the defines of particular processes which we have discussed earlier in like you can say language in which the examinations have been asking the questions from. It is the breakdown of food into smaller pieces without changing chemical change, without a chemical change to the food molecule. So there will be no chemical change occurring in the food materials by the physical digestion over here. It increases the surface area of food for the action of enzyme in the chemical digestion, as we have discussed it earlier. Occurs mainly in the mouth, but it also occurs in the stomach region, carried out by teeth through the mastication process. So mastication is what? It is normally chewing the food. It also occurs in stomach, muscles action and during emulsification of fats by the bile, because by emulsification of the fat we mean that there is breakdown of larger globules of fat molecules into smaller globules. There is no chemical change in the fat molecules. All right, so that's why we are saying that during the emulsification of the fats by the bile juice, it is also referring to the physical digestion. Now, what are the omnivores, teeth types, and then there is one statement to that. All right, omnivores are those organisms which can consume both animals and the plant materials. For example, humans. All right, here I am writing example is human beings. What are the teeth type? It is incisor, canine, premolars and molars. Compared to carnivores, examples, wolves. So carnivores are those organisms which depend upon the animal intake only. So they generally eat meat or flesh. All right. Human teeth do not vary much in size and shape. So since the carnivores are adapted in such a manner that they have this sort of teeth arrangement that help them to have the animal, you can say animal flesh, animal meat, to tear that skin apart and to have that food material into their mouth. So that is how their teeth are adapted. But we humans, since we can both we can eat both plants and we can also eat animals, so there is not very much difference in the size and shape of the teeth, but we do have some differences over here. What you are going to study here, that human teeth are not used for catching, holding, killing or tearing prey or handling bones, so they are made in a different manner. This is the upper jaw, this particular region. This is the upper jaw. This is the upper jaw. This one is the lower jaw. All right. Lower jaw, upper jaw. Root is there, crown is there. So we will study about this in the structure of tooth. Let us focus on the image present on the left hand side here. Incisors are the front teeth actually. So we all have this upper jaw and this lower jaw. This is the upper jaw, this is the lower jaw. The front teeth are the incisors. These are the incisors over here. These are 4 in number actually. All right. These are 4 in number. After the canine, after the incisors actually, there are pointed shaped teeth. So these pointed shaped teeth are called as canines. Moving back into the upper or lower jaw, you will observe that there are premolars. All right. Then after that we have molars. There is also wisdom tooth, which is also called as molar. Then this jaw is having this particular structure in the above region, that is termed as the palate. So the region which you can touch by your tongue. All right, so like this. I hope this is clear. This one region, this particular region is the palate region. So teeth in human upper jaw, the same representation as the upper jaw will be there in the lower jaw. All right. There are 4 type of teeth when we talk about the human teeth. These are incisor, the front teeth are the incisor, the pointed teeth are the canine, then we have premolar and then we have molar. So incisors are the type of teeth. Top incisors pass in front of bottom incisors. Both of the teeth in the upper and lower jaw are incisors in structure, and function is that they are used to cut pieces of food. That is example, biting into an apple or a toast. So what will help you in biting an apple or biting to a toast? The incisors will be having a function over there. So questions have been asked from this particular diagram, in which you have to identify the type of teeth. So the question will be asking you to identify incisors in the given diagram. The question will be asking you to identify that particular teeth which is able to bite the food material, and you will be provided with 4 options. Again, you have to select the correct option. So this is the pattern of, or you can say, variety of questions that will be coming from the human teeth topic. All right. Then you have canines. See, this is the pointed structure which I was talking about. This structure, the pointed part, more pointed than the incisors, function like extra incisors. They have this function of biting, but they also have this function of a slight tearing of any food material that you have. Not significantly larger, they are smaller in size and pointed in structure. Talking about premolars and molars, so there have been questions that directly ask about their functions as well. So they will group the premolars and molars, then they will ask you about the functions of these particular teeth. Similar in shape and function. All right, so these are the premolars on the left hand side, and on the right hand side there is representation of molar. Knobbly surfaces called as cusps. So these are talking about this structure. All right, or you can say that when we are going to view these particular teeth from the above region, you will observe structures like somewhat this. There will be slight ridges, there will be slight dips into the teeth structure, and these are called as cusp. Cusp meet when jaw are closed and crushing food into small pieces. So this is the function of molar and premolar both. Function of molar and premolar. Summary. So you can have a glimpse onto this table that has the summary for each and every type of human teeth. Incisor is present. Their position is in the front. Description is chisel shape, or you can say sharp edge. All right. Biting of pieces of food. Then you have canine. These have pointed structure either sides of the incisor. So incisors are there, 4 front teeth are of incisors, and after that there will be one canine over here, one canine over here in the upper jaw. All right, talking about the upper jaw. So either side of the incisors slightly more pointed than the incisors, similar functions to the incisors. Behind the canine there will be premolars. All right. So these are premolars. Behind the canines have 2 pointed cusps, have 1 or 2 roots. Tearing and grinding food is the function of premolar. Talking about the teeth that is present behind these premolars are molar. These are present in the back of the jaw. Alright, so these are the particular point where the molars are present. These are present in the back. Have 4 or 5 cusps, have 2 or 3 roots, chewing and grinding of the food. So what you need to remember over here is the function and position of these teeth. You can easily tell the differences among the diagram whenever the question is asking you to identify the structures of incisor, canine, premolar and molar. So you have to remember the position and you have to remember the function of these human teeth. Now talking about the structure of tooth here. Nerve and blood vessels enter the tooth through a small hole at the base of the root. Now questions have been asking the there is this question that had asked to label the parts of the tooth structure, in which you are going to label enamel as the uppermost region of this tooth. Then you have inner to enamel is the dentine part. After that you will be seeing this pulp cavity which have nerves in them and blood vessels in them. Alright, gum is there. Alright, here is the cementing part. Let me label it using another pen. Alright, this is the cementing region over here and these are nerves. This is all about the tooth structure, and you have to remember here enamel, dentine, pulp cavity, gum and cement and nerve. Talking about another most important organ over here, that is the stomach. So there will be physical digestion, as we have already studied this multiple times in this one shot. Stomach has elastic walls by which they can stretch and accommodate food accordingly. Functions is to store food from a meal and turn food into a liquid whenever the digestion is occurring. Muscle action. So muscle action is that muscles in the stomach wall alternatively contract and relax in such a manner to make a slurry of the, you can say, a slurry of the food material which it has received from the esophagus. Churn and squeeze the food, mixing it with the gastric juice, and gastric juice has a combination of, you can say, hydrochloric acid. So what is the function of hydrochloric acid? It kills the microbes that may enter the food while we are eating. Alright, it also provides a medium to activate the pepsin enzyme, provides a medium for activation of protein digesting enzyme, that is pepsin. Alright, then stomach's inner wall is surrounded by mucus. Why there is a need to have mucus in the stomach lining? Because HCl is there, so it can impact the stomach lining also. It can damage the stomach lining also. So to prevent the stomach from the harsh effects of the HCl, there is presence of mucus. It prevents stomach from harsh effects of HCl. Alright, then result is that, what is the result? After this all happens in the stomach, food turns into creamy liquid. Alright, so you need to mention about pepsin over here also. Alright, now pepsin is a protein digesting enzyme. So what you can write about the pepsin here? An enzyme that acts on protein. Alright, so all of these are present in the stomach. HCl is there in the gastric juice, pepsin is there in the gastric juice. The stomach inner lining is lined by mucus. Alright, moving forward, here we have muscles in the alimentary canal that perform the peristalsis movement. Circular movement, fibers run around the canal, which we had already discussed in a slide, in which there was the certain muscles in the alimentary canal. Longitudinal muscles, fibers run along the length of the canal. So here you have the area of contraction. There is this representation of food bolus. And what is that bolus? As we have discussed, that the food, when it is mixed with the saliva and it is swallowed, the food now becomes bolus. So bolus is being transferred from the mouth toward the stomach here. Let us say that this is the stomach region over here. In the lower side, an area of relaxation is there. So there will be rhythmic contraction and relaxation in the muscles of the alimentary canal to push the food forward throughout the alimentary canal. Alright. Initially it was here and then it got moved to this particular region and then it further transported toward the stomach. This is what we mean by peristalsis. Function, what is the function of peristalsis? Wave of contraction, that is termed as peristalsis, passes along the canal and it pushes the food in front of it. Duration of food in the stomach. Water is there, so water passes through the stomach quickly. So whenever we drink water, water is quickly absorbed from the stomach, alright, directly absorbed. Carbohydrate meal, so whenever we are having a food that is rich in the carbohydrate, so it will be held in the stomach for less than 1 hour. Mixed meal, when the protein are there, fat are there, carbohydrates are there, it stays in the stomach for at least 1 to 2 hours. Talking about the bile, as we already discussed that it is made by the organ liver, and stored in gallbladder. Where can you identify the liver or the gallbladder in the given diagram here? So this is liver over here. This is the liver. And here you will see this is the gallbladder. It is storing the bile for quite some time. Example of physical digestion, because it helps in the emulsification of fats, and by emulsification I hope you understand the meaning of emulsification here, breaking down the large globules of fat molecules into smaller globules without change in the chemical nature of these fat molecules. Green, you can say this is a feature of bile juice that it appears green in color. It has a watery fluid texture that is made in the liver. Moving forward, it is stored in gallbladder, then it is sent to duodenum through the bile duct. Now there was one question in which you had to identify what are the different structures over here in this particular image. So this was the exact image which was asked in the question here. So let us identify what are all the organs located in this structure. This leaf like structure here represents pancreas. This is pancreas. Alright, here you can see that this is gallbladder which is storing the bile. Now, there's supposed to be a region of stomach over here which connects to the first part of the small intestine. That means that this must be duodenum. Alright, so this is about the structure over here. Bile components, that it contains the bile salts but it has no enzymes. The point that need to be noticed over here, that the bile juice do not have enzymes in them. Alright. Bile salts acts on fats like a detergent. So how is this acting on the fat molecules? Let us say that this is the fat molecule over here. This is the fat molecule. The bile will attach to this fat molecule. This is the bile that is attaching to the, you can say, fat molecule. Now this will break this large molecule of fat into smaller units. Let us see the other slide for that. Alright, so this was the fat molecule over here. It is broken down to release smaller globules of fat. Globules of fat, and here you have this larger globule of fat. These are bile salts which are present in the bile juice. Alright. Function is to emulsify by breaking them into small droplets, increase surface area for more efficient digestion by the enzyme lipase, as lipase will be acting upon the fat molecules to digest it chemically. It is green in color, caused by the bile pigments formed from the breakdown of the hemoglobin in the liver. So the pigments are formed by the breaking down of hemoglobin and this occurs in the liver. Coming forward here with chemical digestion, it is mainly a chemical process. That means there will be change in chemical nature of the food components, involves breaking down large molecules into smaller molecules, but chemical change will be our first priority whenever we talk about chemical digestion. So chemical change will be seen. All right. Let us assume that this is on the left hand side. All right. So there is representation of starch molecules actually. Alright, so linking of these smaller units of glucose to one another, this makes the starch molecule, and by the process of digestion, these starch molecules are released into smaller molecules of glucose. These are the monosaccharides. And what do we mean here? Here, polysaccharide is there, as we have discussed in the chapter biological molecules. Biological molecules. All right. Moving forward, here we have large molecules are typically insoluble in water. So that's why we need the chemical digestion to occur to make these large insoluble molecules into smaller soluble molecules, while smaller molecules are soluble. Smaller molecules are absorbed through the epithelium of the alimentary canal into the blood vessels, and the majority of the absorption occurs in the small intestine region of the alimentary canal. All right. Absorption without the digestion process. So some foods, example glucose in the fruit juice, can pass through alimentary canal walls into blood vessels without further change. So because glucose is the smaller unit over here of the carbohydrate, it will be directly getting absorbed into the bloodstream, directly absorbed. There will be no need for further chemical digestion of the glucose molecules, directly absorbed. Solid food is dissolved to form a solution. By the digestion process, we mean that the solid food is dissolved to form a solution. The enzymes are the chemicals that digest these food molecules and dissolve the food. Enzymes can digest proteins that would take 50 years to dissolve in water in a few hours, as we have already discussed in the one shot of enzymes, that enzymes speeds up the rate of chemical digestion, speeds up the rate of, or you can say any reaction. So we have already studied about this particular slide, in which the complex food material here is the carbohydrate. The enzymes acting upon these carbohydrates are written on the second column, and then they are converted into sugars. Mainly these are of glucose. So these will be directly getting absorbed into the bloodstream. Proteins will be broken down by the use of enzymes that are acting upon the proteins, that are pepsin, trypsin, peptidase, and breaking these proteins into amino acids. Fats are there. These are the complex molecules. These are further acted upon the एक सेकेंड रुको, एडिटिंग तो होने ही है ना, बहुत देर हो गई है. 103. Carbohydrates are acted upon by these enzymes. These are amylase, sucrase, isomaltase, maltase, and lactase. These are further broken down into simple carbohydrates, which are glucose. The proteins are acted upon by these enzymes, pepsin, trypsin, peptidase, and broken down to release amino acids. Fats are broken down using lipase enzyme into fatty acids, and glycerol is also produced as the product. Talking about specifically about the starch digestion, so it starts in the mouth. Let us write it over here, that starch digestion starts in mouth, starts in mouth by the action of salivary amylase. So starch in foods like bread and potatoes is digested to glucose, which is soluble. So starch was not soluble, it was insoluble, it was further broken down to release soluble products. Proteins in meat, eggs and beans are digested to amino acids which are soluble. Now this is a representation of protein in which these amino acids are linked to each other. Alright. The linkage will be broken down using the enzymes that are acting upon these protein molecules, and amino acids will be released, but there will be an intermediate stage in which peptides are also formed. Fats are digested to glycerol and fatty acids, both are soluble products. So what is the enzyme that is acting on these fat molecules? These are lipase enzymes acting upon the fat molecules, which is a triglyceride, and converting it into glycerol and fatty acids. Talking about the chemical digestion in the mouth, there was ingestion as we have discussed in the previous slides, and chewing is also present. So ingestion refers to taking food into the mouth where it is chewed and mixed with the saliva. Chewing food down into smaller particles, increasing surface area for enzymatic digestion later on. So this is all about the extended part of the syllabus. This is for the extended students. Saliva and its function. Saliva, it is produced by 3 pair of glands. So how many salivary glands are there? There are 3 pair of salivary glands present. 3 pairs of salivary glands. With ducts, these ducts are salivary ducts. Though they have different name, but we do not need to remember the different names of these salivary ducts in our syllabus. These ducts lead into the mouth, lubricates the food and help bind the small pieces together. So this is the starch molecule over here, acted upon by the salivary amylase and broken down to release glucose, maltose, dextrins. These molecules will be further acted upon by the pancreatic amylase. So pancreatic juice has pancreatic amylase which further act on these carbohydrates to break down into smaller units called as glucose. This glucose will be further absorbed into the bloodstream, present in the villi in the region of small intestine. Saliva contains salivary amylase, also known as ptyalin, an enzyme that initiates the breakdown of cooked starch into maltose. So first it will be converted into maltose, then this maltose will be converted into glucose. Alright, and you can also say that not all of the starch present in the food will be digested in our mouth. There will be 30% digestion of the starch. 30% digestion of starch that is occurring in the mouth. Alright, and the rest of the digestion of starch will be occurring in the small intestine. Anatomical structure. The mouth is the aperture between the lips, housing the buccal cavity which includes the tongue and the teeth. So by aperture we mean that it is an opening. So mouth is certainly an opening between the lips. So two flaps are there. These are called as lips, housing the buccal cavity. So all the internal structure here comprising the jaw, comprising the teeth, comprising the tongue and the palate all constitute the buccal cavity. It includes the tongue and the teeth. Beyond the buccal cavity lies the throat or the pharynx. So as we have already discussed about pharynx, what is that? It is a common passage for both air and food. Passage for both air and food, where swallowing of food occurs. The stomach has elastic walls that expand to accommodate food intake. The pyloric sphincter, a circular muscle at the stomach's lower end, regulates the release of food into the small intestine. So what is a sphincter? It is a structure that regulates, you can say here, you can write also that it passes the food in certain amounts gradually throughout. And where is this pyloric sphincter present? It is present over this region. Here you will see the pyloric sphincter. Now it will pass the food molecules gradually from the stomach region to the small intestine, alright. So protein is also digested in the stomach. There is action of the enzyme pepsin. Pepsin can only be activated in the presence of HCl, which is an acid. This activates the pepsin, and pepsin acts on the protein molecules to convert it into peptides. Now these peptides will be moving toward small intestine for the complete digestion. Small intestine. Talking about the chemical digestion for the extended students, gastric glands in the stomach lining produce gastric juice containing protease enzyme to break down proteins into amino acids. Alright, mechanical digestion will also be occurring in the stomach region. Pepsin is there, HCl is there. Acidity regulation, hydrochloric acid in gastric juice creates an optimal acidic environment for protease activity and kills the bacteria. So a question has been asked from this particular statement, in which the question was actually asking about write two functions about hydrochloric acid. This was a PYQ, alright. Whatever has been happened in the stomach region, now there will be a passage of all this food material into the small intestine. The pyloric sphincter now allow controlled release of the digested liquid food, that is now called as chyme because it is acidic in nature, into the duodenum, the first part of the small intestine. Now let's start here with you can say, alright, so let's first study about all of the functions of these structures in the alimentary canal and the digestive glands associated to that. Mouth is there. The associated digestive gland is the salivary gland, which secretes saliva. It has a salivary amylase in it. This acts upon the starch molecule and convert it into maltose. This is important for your examinations. Then you have stomach. The glands in the stomach lining secretes the gastric juice. It has pepsin enzyme in it. It acts upon the proteins. It converts it into peptides. Duodenum, talking about the duodenum region, there is associated gland, that is pancreas. Now pancreas will be secreting pancreatic juice into the duodenum region. The pancreatic juice will have protease enzyme. These include trypsin, amylase, and lipase will also be there to act upon the smaller globules of fat molecules. The proteins and peptides, starch and fats will be the substrate for all of these enzymes written on the left hand side. What are those products? So protein will be converted into peptides and amino acids. The starch will be converted into maltose. Fat will be converted into fatty acids and glycerol. Ileum is the region in which epithelial cells are there. There is no digestive juice produced from these cells, but there are enzymes which are maltase and peptidase. So maltase will be acting upon the maltose and convert it into glucose. Peptidase will be acting upon the peptides and convert it into amino acids. So there will be complete digestion of these molecules. And where did it occur? This occurred in the region of small intestine. Alright. Moving forward, here we have located after the stomach where further digestion and absorption of the nutrients occur. It receives pancreatic juice and bile to aid in digestion. Now bile was produced by liver and it was stored in gallbladder. Pancreatic juice, which was produced by the pancreas, a digestive gland located below the stomach. So let us say that this is the stomach region over here. This is the stomach region. Now what is the location of pancreas here? Pancreas will be located below the stomach. This is a leaf-like structure. It is located below the stomach. This is stomach. And what's this region over here? This is representing duodenum. This is representing duodenum. The pancreatic juice contains enzymes. What are those enzymes? Protease is there, pancreatic amylase is there, lipase is there. So as the name suggests, protease will be acting upon the proteins. Pancreatic amylase is there, so it will be acting upon the starch molecules, and lipase will be acting upon the fats. Moving forward, here we have role of sodium hydrogen carbonate. Though we have not seen any question coming from the role of sodium hydrogen carbonate, it actually neutralizes stomach acid to create optimal pH for pancreatic enzymes. Alright. So here this is a tabular form for all the nutrients and the digestive site and all the building units of these particular nutrients. Let us take an example of carbohydrates. Digestive site is, so where the digestion of carbohydrate occurs, it occurs in the mouth, it occurs in the small intestine. In mouth, it occurs by the salivary amylase. In small intestine, it occurs by the pancreatic amylase. These will be converted, or you can say broken down, to release glucose molecules. Proteins are there. So these are the site over here in the second column in which the digestion of a particular nutrient is occurring. Talking about digestion and absorption, enzymes in pancreatic juice break down food into soluble compounds. Nutrients then pass through the intestinal lining into the bloodstream for the distribution. So this is occurring in the small intestine region, which is having numerous finger-like structures that increase the surface area for absorption. These structures are called as villi. I hope this slide is also clear to you all. Starch will be converted to release glucose, protein will be converted to release amino acid, and fat will be converted to release fatty acid and glycerol. Starch is made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen atoms forming a complex molecule. So first stage is that you have to convert it into maltose, which is a disaccharide, a 12 carbon sugar molecule. The final stage will be that the maltose will be further digested into glucose molecules, each with 6 carbons. So starch is first converted to maltose and then it is further converted into glucose. The digestion sites for digestion of the starch: in the mouth by the salivary amylase, in the duodenum by the pancreatic amylase. Optimal conditions. Now question has been coming from this particular region in which the table was represented in the question, and it had asked about the statements for amylase enzyme, for trypsin enzyme, for lipase enzyme. They were asking about the optimal conditions for maximum activity of these enzymes. So for amylase, optimal conditions are that it works best in a neutral or slightly alkaline pH. So this was the statement in that particular question, that it works best in the neutral or slightly alkaline pH. Action of amylase: it breaks down large insoluble starch molecule into smaller soluble maltose molecules. Conversion to glucose is there, where maltose is broken down to glucose by the enzyme maltase. This is the enzyme which will be having maltose as a substrate. So you can write the reaction for that too, that maltose is there, acted upon by enzyme maltase and broken down to release glucose here. Absorption: glucose molecules are small enough to be absorbed through the intestinal wall. Digestion of proteins: these are first converted into peptides and then broken down to release the amino acids. Enzymes, you can say the enzymes involved in the digestion of proteins are: first here is the pepsin, then you have trypsin, then alright. First, we will be talking about the pepsin enzyme. It is secreted in the stomach under acidic conditions. So, what are the optimal conditions for the maximum activity of this enzyme? It requires acidic conditions. It breaks down proteins into peptides. Talking about trypsin enzyme, it is secreted by the pancreas, but it will be further acting upon the proteins and converting these proteins into peptides under the alkaline conditions. So one difference can be made out from these statements, that pepsin acts under acidic conditions and trypsin acts under alkaline conditions. Acts under alkaline condition. But both will be utilizing, or you can say will be acting on the substrate proteins. Talking about the role of small intestine here, it does not produce digestive enzymes directly, but it has the epithelial cells of the villi that contains enzymes. These enzymes, for example peptidase, in their membranes, this further break down the peptides into the amino acids for complete absorption, or you can say further it is digested and then it is absorbed by the epithelial cells, you can say blood vessels lining the epithelial cells, or you can say lining of the small intestine as well. It consists of the duodenum and the ileum. So this is about region of the small intestine. It has duodenum, it has ileum. Nearly all absorption of digested food occurs in the ileum. So one question was there in the previous year examinations which was asking about where does complete digestion occur? Where does complete digestion occurs? So the answer for that is small intestine. Small intestine. All right. And talking particularly about that particular part in which all absorption of the digested food material is occurring, it is ileum region of the small intestine. What are the list of substances that are absorbed into the bloodstream through the small intestine? First is the glucose, second is the amino acids. These are absorbed directly into the bloodstream. Fatty acids and glycerol, so these are absorbed into lacteals. Let us first understand the structure of small intestine villi, then we will be talking about the absorption of glucose and absorption of fat. Let us say that this is the extensions of the epithelial cells of small intestine here. These are called as villi. These villi are richly supplied with blood vessels. So let us say these are the arteries. These are the arteries, and there you have these veins. All right. In between these, there are capillaries. Assuming that the direction of flow of blood is from left to right. Direction of flow of blood. In the middle region, there is one separate blood vessel, or you can say lymphatic vessel, because it is associated with the lymphatic system of the body. This blood vessel or this vessel is called as lacteal. Since the fats are not directly absorbed, or you can say soluble in the water, they have a separate region in which these are getting absorbed. These separate regions are called as lacteals. So where is the absorption of fat molecules which were digested into glycerol and fatty acid? So where does the absorption occurs? It occurs in the lacteal region of the small intestine. This is a separate vessel for the absorption of you can say fatty acids and glycerol. Talking about, all right, so these are the arteries. Let me label it here. These are the arteries. These are the veins. These two are the branches of lymphatic system. Branches of lymphatic system. What are those structures in the middle region? These are capillaries. I hope the diagram is pretty clear to you all. Now, moving toward the diagram, on the left hand side, these structures are of villi. These structures represent villi. What does villi do actually? It actually increases the surface area for absorption. More the surface area, more will be the transport of the substances across that particular region. Now, if you focus on one particular villi, in that particular villi, there is a supply of blood vessels. All right. Arteriole is there. Lacteal is there. I hope you can identify this green represented, you can say vessel over here is the lacteal. Epithelial cells are there. These are the epithelial cells. Capillary network is present in the middle region. Lymphatic vessel is there. Venule is there. I hope this is clear to you all. Moving forward. Composition of the material. It contains water, it contains undigested matter, cellulose and roughage because it cannot be digested by the human body. They are there to facilitate easy passage of the, you can say, feces. Alright. To prevent the constipation. Mucus is there, dead cells is there from the alimentary canal lining. Enzymatic activity, there is no such enzyme secretion, but bacterial action in the colon digests some fiber into fatty acid which the colon absorbs. So this is one point that needs consideration over here. Absorption of the bile salt, so absorbs bile salts returned to the liver via the blood circulation, absorbs significant amount of water from undigested residues. So we are actually talking about the function of large intestine. Now one question was there in the previous year examinations that had asked about to label the structure which absorbs maximum amount of water from the food material. So let me write that question over here. Which structure absorbs maximum amount of water? Let's assume that you are provided with two options, A, small intestine, and B, large intestine. Most of you will think that B is the right answer, that is large intestine is going to be the right answer. But the right answer here is the small intestine. Why? Because 90% of the water is absorbed by small intestine. 90% of water absorption occurs in small intestine. The remaining water will be absorbed by large intestine. Alright. So you are going to write, where does the maximum absorption of water occurs? It occurs in the small intestine. Whenever small intestine is not present in the option, so you are going to tick the large intestine as the right answer. Alright. Importance of water absorption. It prevents dehydration by absorbing water from the digestive juices. Formation of feces. Semi-solid waste or stool composed of undigested residues forms the feces. And the process by which these feces are removed out from the body is also called as defecation, or you can also call it as egestion. Expulsion mechanism. There will be also involvement of peristalsis movement because there will be rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the muscles of alimentary canal, and in order to move these feces out from the body, peristalsis will also be required. So peristalsis move feces into the rectum where it will be temporarily stored. Whenever there is an urge to pass this undigested food material, we will be passing it through the opening that is called as anus. Expelled through the anus at intervals because there are rhythmic contraction and relaxation, so passing of the feces will also occur at intervals. Duration in intestine. Residues may spend 12 to 24 hours in the intestine. Alright. Egestion, as we have already discussed, it is the act of expelling feces from the body, also called as defecation. Now talking about efficiency of the ileum in absorption. These pointers are for the students, those are studying the extended part of the syllabus. Alright. It is fairly long. It is providing a large absorbing surface area for the digested food. Circular folds with thousands of villi, 0.5 millimeter long, increasing the surface area. Villi can be finger-like or flattened in shape. So this is the structure of villi. Alright. This represents the epithelium, and here you can see these are the epithelial cells. Alright. Blood capillary is there. Lacteal is present in middle region. Crypt is there. Lymphatic system is present, and this is a structure of single villi. So whenever you are going to name a single villi, you will not call it as villi, you will call it as vilus. Thin epithelium is there. This is the adaptation for the you can say absorption process by the villi of small intestine. There is thin epithelium so as to facilitate more and more and quickly absorption of the nutrients. Allow rapid passage of fluids through the lining. Microvilli is there. Outer membrane of the epithelial cells has microvilli, increasing the cell surface area by 20 times. Basically, villi is there, but villi also have numerous projections. These are called as microvilli. These microvilli are formed by the extensions of the epithelial cells, alright. This increases the surface area by 20 times. So what was the statement saying? Outer membrane of the epithelial cells has microvilli, increasing the cell surface area by 20 times. Network of blood capillaries is there. Dense network of each vilus facilitates absorption into the bloodstream. Glucose and amino acids pass into the epithelial cells, then through the capillary walls into the bloodstream. Now it have entered the bloodstream. Blood from the intestine flows to the liver via the hepatic portal vein. So one question has come from this statement directly, that what is the name of that vessel by which the liver is supplied with the nutrients. So here we have the hepatic portal vein for that. Hepatic portal vein. What was the statement here? Blood from the intestine flows to the liver via the hepatic portal vein for storage or alteration of the digested products. Alright, this is the intestinal lumen. As you can all see, this is the representation of villi over here. Alright, and these are the intestinal cells. Some enter the blood capillaries, others combine to form fats in the intestinal epithelium. This is of no such importance actually. Fats then pass into lacteoles. This is important. You have been asked about the lacteoles many times in your previous year examinations. These lacteoles are the lymphatic vessels and enter the lymphatic system. As we already discussed in the previous slide, in which we made the diagram of small intestine villi, the lacteoles were formed through the branches of lymphatic system. So these pointers needs to be considered as they're important for the examinations. Moving forward, here we have vitamins. Those vitamins which are water soluble will be directly diffusing into the epithelium, but the vitamins which are fat soluble, as we have already discussed in this one shot, what are those vitamins? A, D, E and K. So these vitamins are carried in microscopic fat droplets that enter the cells. So this is a transport of vitamins through the epithelial cells of the small intestine. Minerals like salts. So mineral salts likely absorbed by active transport. Calcium ions require vitamin D for effective absorption. And what occurs if efficient absorption of calcium is not there? So there will be softening of the bones, leading to fractures, And the deficiency of vitamin D causes rickets in children. Vitamin D deficiency causes rickets in children. So by now we have completed the theory part of this particular chapter, that was the human nutrition, which was very important as per examinations point of view. And now we are proceeding with the questions that have been taken from the past year papers. Here we have question number 1 that says, the table shows vitamins that should be included in a balanced diet. Which row shows the correct use in the body and food source for one of these vitamins? So on the first column you are provided with the vitamin, on the second column there is use in the body, and on the third column there is food source. So you have to select that particular option which is correctly labeling the vitamin with the use of the body, use in the body, and then the food source for that. So talking about option A here, vitamin C is there, it strengthens bones and teeth. Now it is actually talking about calcium and it is not talking about vitamin D. So this is incorrect. The food source is also incorrect over here. Second column here, the second option here, vitamin C, it is providing resistance to disease, right, to some extent, but the food source here is not the fish oil. Option C here is the vitamin D. It strengthens the bone and the teeth, and the food source for that is fish oil. Yes, this is true, as we have discussed in this one short, that vitamin D is that vitamin which is helping the absorption of calcium. By that it will be seen that there is strengthening of the bones, strengthening of the teeth, and it is obtained from the fish oil also. So option C here is our right answer. Option D says vitamin D is there, it is providing resistance to disease, and it is present in sugar. Both of these columns have incorrect labeling for the vitamin D. So option C here is providing us with our right answer. Question number 2 here says, what is the function of gallbladder? So as we have discussed that what does gallbladder do? It stores the bile which was produced by the liver. So production of bile, no. It is the function of liver actually. Then production of gastric juice, no. The production of gastric juice occurs in the stomach. Storage of the bile, yes, this statement is true. And storage of gastric juice, this is also incorrect over here. Talking about question number 3 over here, in which the diagram shows the different types of teeth found in the upper jaw of a human. So you are provided with the different type of human teeth found in the upper jaw. Actually they are in same order as they are found in the jaw. So they are telling us that they are placed in the same order as they are found in the jaw. So front teeth will be the incisors. After that we will be finding the canines. The region having you can say the back of the jaw will be having molar, and prior to that premolars will be there. So these 4 teeth over here will represent incisors. All right, these 2 pointed ridges represent that these are canines. All right, these 2 teeth over here represents premolar, and then after that we have these structures as molars. Which type of tooth is circle? So the circled tooth here is canine. Moving toward question number 4 here, that says a person ate food X. All right, chemical digestion of food X occurred in the mouth and small intestine. So as we have already studied, there will be chemical digestion of the starch that starts in the mouth by the action of salivary amylase, and that starch will be further acted upon by the pancreatic amylase present in the pancreatic juice. This pancreatic juice will be transported to the duodenum region, in which there will be action of pancreatic juice that includes the pancreatic amylase. All right, here you can see options is fat, ions, protein and starch. Clearly option D is our right answer. Moving to next question here, that says which organ is a part of digestive system? Colon is there, larynx is there, vena cava is there, ureter is there. All the 3 other options except the colon is incorrect. So colon is a part of large intestine, a part of large intestine. And as you all know, the large intestine is a part of digestive system. So option A here is our right answer. Moving to question number 6. It says the diagram shows the human alimentary canal where is most digested food absorbed into the blood. As we have discussed here, the complete absorption of the digested food materials occurs in the region of small intestine. So we have to identify the small intestine in this particular diagram, and to identify that we have to first label the correct markings over here. A here represents that region in which gastric juice is present. So A is representing stomach, B is representing small intestine, C is representing a part of large intestine, D is representing an organ that produces bile, that is the liver. So option here is B. Question number 7 is asking that which layer is dentine in the given diagram of human tooth. So as we have already started, the outermost layer is of the enamel. The layer inner to it is the dentine. The C here is representing pulp, and D here is representing the cementing material. You can simply write cement over here. Which layer is dentine? Clearly, option B here is our right answer. The diagram shows a human jaw. Which labeled tooth is an incisor? As you all know, the front teeth are the incisors. So these are 4 in number in each jaw. All of these are incisors. So clearly we have option B is our right answer. But let us identify all the other teeth over here. C is representing the canine. A is representing premolar, and D here is representing molar. Option B will be our right answer. Where does protease act? So protease is an enzyme that is acting upon the protein molecules. Acting upon protein molecules. Alright, to answer that you have to first label out all of the options here. A here represents mouth. B here represents food pipe. C here represent stomach. D here represent gallbladder. So according to the options, the protein digestion will be occurring in the region of stomach. So option C here is our right answer. Alright. Question number 10 here says enzyme X digests starch in the duodenum. So enzyme X must be amylase. The same volume of starch suspension and enzyme X were put into 4 test tubes A, B, C and D. Each test tube was kept at a different pH and temperature as shown in the table. In which test tube will starch digestion be the quickest? Alright, so you have to first identify the enzyme and then the optimum temperature and pH levels for the activity of that enzyme. Since you have already identified that the enzyme is going to be the enzyme is going to be amylase, and the substrate for this amylase is going to be starch acting upon starch. Alright. The enzyme works best at neutral pH, that is pH 7, and the temperature for its optimum activity is approximately 35 degrees Celsius. Now according to that you are provided the same conditions in option D here. Alright, so D is going to be our right answer. Then we have question number 11 that says which 4 organs are part of digestive system? Let us go through the statements. Alright, so option A here has lung, so it is not included in digestive system. Liver is true, salivary gland is true, pancreas is true. Option B has kidney as an option. This will be incorrect. Liver is correct. Colon is correct. Ureter is incorrect. Option C has pancreas. That is correct. Liver. That is correct. Uterus is not correct. Gallbladder is correct. Option D has a salivary gland. That is correct. Liver, correct. Gallbladder, that is also true. Pancreas. Option D here is the right answer for question number 11. Question number 12 here says what should be increased to the diet of a person suffering from constipation. Alright, so in order to have regular smooth bowel movements, the person must consume more and more fibrous, you can say fiber food element, or you can say the food that has roughage in it. Alright, so in order to increase the, you can say, smooth passage, or you can say prevent the constipation, the person must consume fiber. More and more fiber should be allowing a smooth passage of the bowel, smooth passage of the stools. Question number 13 here says the diagram shows part of the small intestine and an associated blood vessel. Alright, what is represented by the arrow? So small intestine is there, blood vessel is there. What can be directly absorbed into the blood vessel? Absorption of sugars, assimilation of sugars. So by assimilation, as you all know, that it is basically the utilization of that particular food component by the cells. So this cannot be our right answer. Digestion of sugars. Digestion of sugars has already occurred, and after that there is absorption of the sugars. Ingestion of sugars will not be right option. So option A here is the right answer, that absorption of sugars will be occurring. Since small intestine is represented, blood vessel is represented, the sugar will be directly absorbed into the blood vessels. Question number 14 here says the diagram shows the human alimentary canal. Which part labeled has the most absorption of the water? As I already told you that there will be question coming from this water absorption. So for that we have to first identify what are the given structures. A here is representing the stomach. B here is representing rectum. C here is representing large intestine. And to be specific, it is representing colon region of the large intestine. And D here is representing a duct that is carrying the bile. That must be the bile duct. Alright, as per the options, you can say that option C here is the right answer, because through the options you can say small intestine is not provided as an option. So option C is going to be our right answer. Question number 15 here says which description of molar teeth is correct? So pointed teeth used to tear food is a feature of canine. Sharp edged teeth to cut the food, this is a feature of incisor. Teeth with a jagged surface to bite the food, the jagged surface teeth will not be biting the food. Alright, so this option itself is incorrect. Teeth with a large surface area to grind the food, yes, actually this is the right statement for molar teeth. Option D is the right one. Question number 16 here says which organs are involved in physical digestion? So physical digestion occurs in mouth, physical digestion occurs in stomach, and by physical digestion what do we mean? It is basically breaking down the large molecules into the smaller molecules without a change in the chemical nature of the food elements. So mouth will be a tick, esophagus will be a cross, and stomach will be a tick. Option B here is a right answer. Question number 17 says where are most nutrients absorbed in the digestive system? So clearly you can see option C here is providing the right answer, because small intestine is that region where the complete absorption occurs, because these are richly supplied with the blood vessels. And what are those structures that increase the surface area for absorption? These are villi. Alright. Question number 18 here says the diagram shows part of alimentary canal and associated organs. Which labeled part stores bile? So as I already told you that there will be one question coming from the diagrammatic representation. So you have to mark here the structure which is storing the bile. Now bile is stored by gallbladder. So we have to identify which is representing gallbladder. First identify all of these structures. A is representing stomach. B is representing pancreas. C is representing gallbladder. So you have got your right answer to this question. D is representing liver. Alright. So D makes the liver, but gallbladder stores it. Option C is the right one. Question number 19 says the list contains statements about villi. So we are provided with certain statements. Which two statements explain the role of villi in humans? So let us go through these statements one by one. Statement 1 here says villi increases the efficiency of absorption of nutrients. Yes, because it increases the surface area of absorption. Villi increase the efficiency of the alveoli? No, this is not relatable at all. Alveoli are present in the lungs. It is associated with the respiratory system and not with the digestive system. Villi provide a large surface area? Yes, this is true. Villi filter urea from the blood? This is about the excretory system. This is incorrect. So statement 1 and statement 3 is providing the right answer. Option B is going to be our right option. Now question number 20 here says the diagram show carbohydrate molecules as they pass through the alimentary canal. So which row represents the molecules correctly? First of all, there was ingestion of the food material by the mouth. Before taking into the mouth, there will be a complex carbohydrate. That means that it must have associated molecules. This can be true, this can be true, this can be true. After some time in the mouth, by the action of the salivary amylase, there will be a slight digestion of the starch into maltose, but not complete digestion into its monomers, that is glucose. So we will say that some sort of linkage will be present, but there will be broken bonds also. So as present in option B here. This is providing the right diagrammatic explanation for that. After some time in the small intestine, what will happen? All of these maltose will be further converted into glucose molecules. So option B here is providing the right statement. By the action of amylase enzyme, you can say the structure will look somewhat like this as present in option B. Question number 21 here says which row shows correct information about three digestive enzymes in humans. So lipase will be acting upon the lipids, upon the fats and converting it into you can say fatty acids and glycerol. Maltase will be acting upon the maltose and trypsin will be acting upon the protein. So let me write it here. Let me write it here that lipase is a fat digesting enzyme. Maltase is acting upon maltose and trypsin, it acts upon proteins. Now we are provided with four options here. Let us say alright, so first we will identify what are the different conditions for all of these three enzymes, what are the optimum pH levels, what are the optimum temperature levels for all of these enzymes for their optimum activity or maximum activity. Alright, talking about lipase, it is an enzyme that works best at slightly alkaline pH. Works at slightly alkaline pH. Alright. This lipase is secreted by pancreas. Secreted by pancreas. Talking about the maltase enzyme, it works at alkaline pH and it is secreted by small intestine. Small intestine. Talking about trypsin enzyme, it works best at alkaline pH and it is secreted by pancreas. Alright, now going to the options one by one. For lipase, it acts in acidic medium, secreted by pancreas, this is true. Secreted by small intestine, this is incorrect. Acts in small intestine, yes, this is true. This will be acting in the small intestine because the secretions from the pancreas will be moving into the small intestine and they will be having their action in the small intestine. Talking about maltase enzyme, it acts in the stomach, incorrect. It is secreted in the mouth, incorrect. It acts in alkaline conditions, yes, this is true. It acts in the small intestine, yes, this is also true. Talking about trypsin, it is secreted by pancreas, true. Acts in acidic conditions, incorrect. Secreted in the stomach, incorrect. Acts in alkaline conditions, yes, this is true. So clearly we observe that option D is providing the right features for all of these three enzymes, which are lipase, maltase and trypsin. Moving to question number 22, that says, which substance found in a healthy diet helps to prevent constipation? Now again, it is talking about fiber. Option B is the right answer. Question number 23 says, which organ produces amylase? So amylase will be produced by salivary glands and pancreas. Now it has stated that which organ, so clearly the organ is going to be pancreas. Option D is the right one. Question number 24 says, which substance is absorbed by lacteals in villi? So there is a separate absorption of the fatty acids and glycerol. So these lacteals will serve as the absorption site for the fatty acids and glycerol. Option B here is our right answer. 25 question here says, the diagram shows part of alimentary canal where is most water absorbed. Now this is the question which I have been asking you, that you are going to see a kind of this question in the examinations. Where is most water absorbed? Option A here representing liver. B here is representing stomach. C here is representing large intestine. That is actually a part of large intestine. And D here represents small intestine. Now clearly we can see both of these are present as options, and as I already told you about this, 90% of the water absorption will be occurring in the small intestine and the remaining water absorption will be occurring in the large intestine. So clearly option C is going to be our right answer to this question. Next question here says, the diagram shows a cross section of virus. On which cell surface are microvilli found? So as you already studied in the previous slides, that it is the extensions of epithelial cells. Epithelial cells form these microvilli. So in this given diagram, you are going to find the epithelial cells to mark it as the right answer. Alright, here you can observe these structures are representing some cells. Alright, so this must give rise to microvilli. As it is already represented that the middle region is the lacteal, so this must be a transverse section, that is a cut section of the transverse cut section of the villi. So this is the lacteal. The surrounding regions must have capillaries and blood vessels, in which arteries can be there, veins can be there. Alright, so clearly you can say option D is the right answer. Why? Because these are representing epithelial cells. Epithelial cells. Question number 27 here says, the table shows the percentage of daily recommended intake of nutrients in a serving of 4 foods. Which food will be best to prevent scurvy? Now scurvy is caused whenever the person is having diet which is deficit in vitamin C. So percentage of daily recommended intake in a serving of food is represented. Calcium is there, iron is there, vitamin C and vitamin D is there. What are we going to mark it as a right answer is that vitamin C should be in high quantities in order to prevent scurvy. So option C clearly has vitamin C in the highest quantity. So option C is going to be as right answer. Moving to question number 28, that says, what is the correct order of processes that take place in the alimentary canal? Now what actually happens? First there is ingestion. So we are going to mark that option that has ingestion as the first. Clearly option D has ingestion as first, but After that, we are going to study about the digestion also. We are going to study, we are going to see the digestion that is occurring in the alimentary canal. There is absorption of the nutrients also, and then there will be egestion, that is the undigested food material will be moved out from the body. So option D here is our right answer. Question number 29 here says, why does chewing food speed up the chemical digestion process? Or you can say, right, the activity of the enzyme. Because it increases the surface area. Bacteria in the food are killed. No, this is a function of hydrochloric acid. This is incorrect. Option B here says food is mixed with protease. Alright. Surface area of the food is increased. Taste of food is improved. Clearly we see option C as our right answer, because by chewing the surface area of the food is increased, and this will facilitate the easy action of the enzymes. Alright. So option C is right one. Question number 30 here says, the diagram shows a section through a virus several hours after a meal where will be the highest concentration of amino acids and of glucose that we found in a virus. Now you are provided with a key that is showing the direction of flow of blood. So direction of flow of blood is from left to right. Alright. Then a column is provided for you. Highest concentration of amino acids will be seen in which region, and highest concentration of glucose will be seen in which region. Now both of these molecules are directly absorbed into the blood vessels. Alright, so first of all, let us first label here what are these structures. So one here represents arteries, two here represent lacteal, and three here represent the blood vessel, which is having all the nutrients when the blood vessel moved through the surface of the villi. So it is actually having all of the nutrients directly absorbed into the blood. So this blood vessel must be having high concentration of amino acids as well as high concentration of glucose. Why not the other two options? Because first is showing that blood vessel which is going toward the villi and it is not having any kind of molecules absorbed into it, so it will be deficient in the concentration of amino acids and glucose. Now second here is representing lacteal actually, and third here is the blood vessel which has been passed from the blood vessel from the villi and is now having the amino acids and glucose as well. So highest concentration of amino acids will be there in 3. Highest concentration of glucose will also be there in 3. So option D here is our right one. Question number 31 here says, the diagram shows the digestive system and some of its associated organs. Which label identifies the liver? To identify that, we have to first go through the diagram here. A here identifies as liver. Alright, so this is going to be our right answer. B is representing stomach. C is representing pancreas. And D is representing, this is, alright, so you can call it as appendix or, right, you can mark it as appendix. Moving to question number 32 that says, which statements about teeth are correct? Canine teeth are for chewing and grinding food. No, this is a function of premolar and molar. This is incorrect. Incisor teeth are for biting and cutting food. Yes, this is true. Premolar teeth are for chewing and grinding food. Yes, this is true. So statement 2 and 3 only. Option B is the right one. Question number 33 here says, what is the definition of chemical digestion? Large insoluble molecules changed into smaller soluble molecules. Yes, the chemical nature has been changed from the insoluble to soluble. Yes, first statement is providing the right answer. Let us see what the other statements is saying. Statement in option B says large soluble molecules. No, insoluble molecules are there, are changed into smaller soluble. Yes, this is true. C statement says small insoluble molecules. No, large insoluble molecules. Alright, moving toward the next question. Question number 34 here says, in which part of the alimentary canal does hydrochloric acid provide an acidic pH for the enzymes? Now, it is released in the stomach. And what is that enzyme that acts on the proteins and requires an acidic pH for the activity? That enzyme is pepsin. Alright. So, option D is our right one. Question number 35 here says poor nutrition can lead to a condition called rickets. Now, by this you can identify that the deficiency was of vitamin D, due to which rickets was caused. In which bones fail to develop properly. The table shows some minerals and vitamins present in our foods. Which food would be best for a child who has rickets? Calcium should be there, and iron should not be there, vitamin C should not be there, and vitamin D should be there. All right. Option B, that has a tick in the calcium region and a tick in the vitamin D region. Option B is the right one. Question number 36 here says which food group is chemically digested in the mouth? So, the chemical digestion of starch starts in the mouth, passes through the stomach and continues to be broken down by the chemical digestion in the small intestine. So, by the action of pancreatic amylase, it is further broken down into glucose. So, that particular food group is carbohydrate. Question number 37 here says which row about bile is correct? Now, here we have the first column that says organ where bile is produced is liver. Effect of bile on fat droplet surface area, it increases the surface area actually. It increases. Process involved, it is involving physical digestion. So, option D here is our right answer. Question number 38 here says the small intestine is where most digested food are absorbed. Yes, this is true. Where the complete you can say digestion of the food materials is also occurring in the small intestine. The small intestine has many villi. These are some features of villi. Each vilus contain a network of capillaries. Yes, this is true. Statement 2 here says each vilus contains a lacteal. Yes, this is also true. The surface area of each epithelial cell is covered with microvilli. Yes, because the microvilli are extensions of epithelial cells. Statement 4 says villi increase the internal surface area of the small intestine. Yes, as they are present on the internal lining of the small intestine region. So, it will directly increase the internal surface area of the small intestine. All of these statements are correct. Which statements about villi are important for the efficient absorption of the glucose? Now, for the absorption of glucose, what can be the possible right statements? That each contains a network of capillaries. This can be true. Each vilus contains a lacteal, and lacteal is for the fatty acids and glycerol absorption. Surface of each epithelial cell is covered with microvilli. This facilitates easy absorption. And then you can say fourth statement, villi increase internal surface area of the small intestine, which will further increase the absorption of glucose. So, statement first, third and fourth. Option B is our right answer. Moving to question number 39. That says which labeled organ has a major role in assimilation of amino acids by converting them to proteins? Now, that particular organ is liver. From the given diagram, you have to identify which labeling is referring to liver. Option A here is representing liver. Alright, so this is going to be our right answer. B option is representing lungs in the given diagram. C option is representing kidneys. D option is representing urinary bladder. So, clearly option A is our right answer. Question number 40 here says the diagram shows the digestive system. Which part absorbs most the water? So, I hope you can attempt this on your own, and let me just mark the right answer for that. This is B for large intestine and D for small intestine. So, option D is the right answer. The diagram shows the teeth in the lower jaw of a human. Which tooth is a molar? A is representing premolar. Alright. B is representing incisor. C is representing canine. D is representing molar. Option D is the right answer. Question number 42 here says what is meant by chemical digestion? I hope you can attempt this on your own. This is a direct statement based question. Question number 43 here says what is a good source of vitamin C? So, the fruits that are basically citrus fruits are good source of vitamin C. A is bread, B is cheese, C is chicken and D is oranges. Option D is the right answer for this. The diagram shows the teeth in the lower jaw of a human, which tooth is a premolar. So A here is premolar, B is incisor, C is canine, D is molar. Option A here is the right one. In which part of the alimentary canal are most nutrients absorbed into the blood? So this occurs in small intestine. Option C is the right answer. 46 here says the diagram shows part of human digestive system which organ produces hydrochloric acid. It is produced by stomach. To identify that, you have to first label the correct options over here. Option A here is representing stomach. It is going to be our right answer. Option B here is representing pancreas. C here is a part of large intestine and D here is small intestine. Alright, so option A is the right answer. Question number 47 here says which part of a balanced diet is missing if a person develops ricket? It is caused by vitamin D deficiency. Option D is the right answer. What is meant by chemical digestion? Again, you can attempt this. The diagram shows a virus in the small intestine. What is absorbed at X? So X is representing lacteal and it is for the absorption of fatty acids and glycerol. Option A is the right answer. The diagram shows a villus. The arrows show the direction of flow within these vessels associated with the villus. Which vessel carries blood to the liver? Now the blood vessel that carries blood to the liver have to be identified here. Since that particular blood vessel is hepatic portal vein. Hepatic portal vein. But in the given diagram, you are provided with villi only. A is representing artery. B and C are representing branches of lymphatic system. Branches of lymphatic system. D is representing vein. So vein is going to be our right answer because it is taking blood toward the liver. Question number 51 here says the diagram shows the blood vessel associated with the liver. So the key is representing direction of flow of blood, that is, alright, so every part has a direction of flow of blood. What are the blood vessels labeled as X, Y and Z? So X here represent hepatic vein. Hepatic vein. Z here represent hepatic portal vein. Hepatic portal vein. And Y is representing hepatic artery. What are the blood vessels labeled as X, Y and Z? So X is hepatic vein, Y is hepatic artery, Z is hepatic portal vein. So option C is the right answer. Which human teeth are used for biting and cutting of the food? So these are incisors and canine. Option B is the right one. Diagram shows the structure of villus. The artery, capillary, lacteal, vein are labeled with letters. Which letters show where nutrients are absorbed into the blood? Basically, nutrients are absorbed into the blood through the capillaries. You have to identify the capillaries in this given diagram here. A here is representing lacteal. B here is representing capillaries. So clearly capillaries is going to be our right answer. C is representing vein and D is representing artery. Moving to next question, the hemoglobin concentration in blood of a plasma is 80 gram per decimeter cube. The accepted normal concentration of hemoglobin is 120 gram per decimeter cube or above. Which substance may be lacking in their diet? Now to build the hemoglobin, iron is required. So option D is the right answer. Which statement about physical digestion is correct? It increases the surface area of food. Option A is our right answer. It involves enzyme. No. It takes place in mouth only. No. It occurs in stomach as well. And in the small intestine where emulsification of fat is also there. It produces smaller molecules. No, it actually increases the surface area and thereby it increases, you can say it might produce smaller molecules. So option A is going to be our right answer. D is also incorrect over here. The solid food enters the mouth at P and enters the esophagus at Q. How does the food at Q differ from the food at P? So at P, the food will be having high concentration of starch, and at Q the food will be having low concentration of starch, because in the mouth there will be action of salivary amylase that you can say digest 30% of the starch molecules present over there. So starch concentration will be decreased at the region of Q. So option A says it contains less fiber, less water, less protein. Option D is our right answer. Which structure is the duodenum? A here is representing stomach, B here is representing a part of large intestine, C here is representing a part of small intestine, that is the duodenum part, and D here is representing esophagus, or you can write simply food pipe. Option C here is our right answer. The food label is from a packet of cereal. The label can help someone who is concerned about their diet. A person who eats 45 gram of cereal, one of the food types listed in the label, can help prevent constipation. So to prevent the constipation, fiber is required. How many grams of this food type does the person eat? Alright, so here in the label you can find the fiber is there, and this label is providing information for 100 gram of the content in the packet. So 100 gram of the whole packet will provide 2.8 gram of fiber. So 1 gram of this packet will provide 2.8 divided by 100 gram of the content. Alright, then since the packet, the person is actually eating 45 gram of the cereal, so you are going to multiply this by 45. So 2.8 divided by 100 into 45, this gives you an answer that is approximately equal to 1.3. So 1.3 gram of fiber will be consumed by the person who is eating 45 gram of this cereal. Option A here is the right answer. The hemoglobin concentration in the blood of a person. Alright, so this is going to be D. In which region of the alimentary canal is maltose digested? So maltose is digested in the small intestine by the enzyme maltase. So by now we have completed the theory part of the particular chapter, that is the animal nutrition, and we have also completed the PYQ, that are the previously asked questions from past year examinations. I hope you understood each and every point from this particular session, and for further sessions like this, stay connected with us. Thank you so much.